scoreboard for you. Middle of the ninth in San Francisco, Diamondbacks on top of the Giants 3-2. Phillies lead the Padres top of the eighth in San Diego 2-0. And an earlier final, the Mariners catching fire down in Sacramento. They ripped the A's by a final score of 9-1. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing is coming at you right now.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. Coors Light, cold as the Rockies. Please drink responsibly.
He swings, hits a high drive to left and deep. This ball back, and this ball is gone. A home run. Betts' second home run of the night. A 3-run shot.
Driving one toward right center field. Moving back is Veerling. He's at the warning track near the wall. It's gone! It's gone! A grand slam! Vaughn Grissom has put the Angels in front. He's driven in 6 tonight.
Caruso straight away, 2 to shoot. Back to Shea open, angle right three-quarter on the way. Cha-ching it under money ball. Tie game at 27. Well done by Caruso and SGA collaborating there. Shea guarded by Champagne, playing with 4 fouls. Crosses over, steps back, fires. Angle left three-quarter, looks good. It is! Cha-ching it under money ball. Thunder avalanching the Spurs. The thunderstorm is in full force. 7-0 start to the quarter. Wallace the rebound to McCain open. His angle right three-pointer is up and in. Cha-ching it under money ball. J-Mac with a stroke. It shows. He got 17, plays the crowd. Both free throws good. And the Thunder win game 5, 127-114 over the Spurs. Their second double-digit win of this series, and they are a win away from having another shot at an NBA championship.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City, Pinto, the voice of the Thunder, so he loves playing his sound bites. And Oklahoma City last night, the voice of the Thunder, so he loves playing his sound bites. And Oklahoma City last night got the win, 127-114. Victor Wembanyama, and this is classic Adam Silver NBA. He received a warning for not speaking with the press following the game last night. Not a fine, but a warning. Thanks a lot, Commissioner. That guy is so spineless and so soft on the players. It's no wonder the guys are running the league now. And David Stern would not stand for that type of nonsense. Now, look, I don't blame Victor Wembanyama. And I there's a lot of things I like about him. And I've had a lot of people reach out over the last couple of weeks to say that they don't like Wemby. They think he acts like a child on the court. They think he's a little B or whatever the case may be. I got to be honest with you. Wembanyama, for me, is refreshing. And this probably is because I started watching the NBA back in the late 80s and early 90s. That's when I became hooked on NBA basketball. So I appreciate guys who don't like each other. I appreciate rivalries. I want to see guys who take a few cheap shots out there. Like, that's the kind of basketball I grew up on. And we've seen that from Wembanyama. And I think it will change over time as he gets more experience and gains more maturity in the league. But he didn't play well last night. That was his first big-time basketball game. Series tied up at 2, Game 5 on the road against the defending champs, a situation where he had to rise up and play well, and he did not. I don't know if he was fatigued, if he was ticked off, or maybe he got banged up in the game. He decided not to talk to the press. And I think what that could be is like, hey, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go focus on what I need to focus on to get ready for Game 6 so I can force a Game 7 and put my team in a position to reach the NBA Finals. So I don't have a problem with it. I do believe, and this is important for athletes to understand, I think, when you're one of the stars on your team or the star or one of the faces of the league, you do have to answer questions. You got to answer questions. You have to stand up. You've got to answer the questions. And here's one of the biggest issues I've had with, professional athletes. And there are a lot of guys like this where what happens is when things are going well, their team is winning, they're playing well, they're performing, they want all the cameras, all the accolades, anything you got for them. They're there, front and center. But when things don't go well, a lot of guys will get frustrated. They don't want the attention. They don't want the cameras. They don't want to answer anything. None of it. And it's like you can't have it both ways. If you choose to be in professional sports and to be a superstar player, a lot of responsibility comes with that, meaning you're going to get criticized because you're making a heck of a lot of money. There's going to be people that question you at times. And when you're a player like Victor Wembanyama, people are going to expect you to perform in the biggest spots. And he'll learn with time. But I understand what he's going through right now. He's ticked off. His team got their ass kicked last night, and he did not play well, and he holds himself to a high standard. It was also Victor Wembanyama that really helped reinvigorate the All-Star weekend because he brought the competition. He competed, he went after it, and that forced other guys to step their game up, which is good. You want that. I want that. I want guys playing hard. And that's really what it's all about. So I respect Victor Wembanyama. He'll get better and mature with time. Now, if you go back to before the playoffs began or right at the start of the postseason, what was it that I said about San Antonio? I didn't think they would win the championship because I didn't think they had the experience that was necessary to get the job done. Now, they're definitely good enough to win the title this year. They're young, but they're really talented. Their young guards are playing well, have played well throughout the playoffs, and they've got a freak of a player in Victor Wembanyama. So even though they trail in this series 3-2, they're talented enough and good enough to win back-to-back games, including a road game at OKC in Game 7 to get to the NBA Finals. They can do that. I don't think they will, but they're capable. But I think what we're seeing now in this series against Oklahoma City, against the best possible competition, the defending champs, we're seeing some of the youth on their roster start to shine through. And again, it doesn't mean that they can't do it. I'm just saying that it will probably prevent them from getting to where they want to be this year. We're seeing it with the guards, the young guards, Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, where a lot of times they'll drive into the paint and they don't really have a plan. They get stuck down below and they end up turning the ball over. We're seeing some ill-advised shots early in the shot clock. The turnovers across the roster, those type of mistakes. And again, when you make those type of mistakes against Oklahoma City, they make you pay for it. And with Victor Wembanyama, he got frustrated in the Minnesota series and tried to annihilate Naz Reid with an elbow. We saw Victor Wembanyama walk out of the arena last night without answering questions from reporters following a brutal loss. And this is all a young team that's trying to learn how to win in the postseason. And that's why I keep talking about that. There's a process. In my entire life watching the NBA, teams that are on the rise typically have to go through playoff failures, defeats, frustration to learn how to win at that level in the postseason because it's such a different game. And look at the team now. And Victor Wembanyama, I think, showcased this last night. You know, part of what makes an NBA championship so special is you've got to play numerous games. That's why they call it the second season. It's a grind. It's a marathon. You've got to play a ton of games. You got to go through stiff competition. As you get deeper into the postseason, they play every other day. And we saw some of the wear and tear on the Spurs last night on the road in Oklahoma City. So they're gaining valuable knowledge right now. So regardless of what the outcome of this series is, the Spurs are going to be really good moving forward. So that's it. That's what I was talking about. What we're seeing right now with San Antonio and how the lack of playoff experience can really start to shine through. But those details are critical, even with the defense. Now, they were much better in Game 4 of being patient and not being overly aggressive defensively. But last night, they were biting on the pump fakes. They were reaching on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And as a result, fouls. And I'll tell you what, the NBA officiating last night was mostly brutal. Now, they have brought in the extender for Game 6. So keep an eye on that. Scott Foster will ref Game 6, the extender. He's called the extender for a reason because most believe the league will call upon him when they want to extend a series to make sure it gets to Game 7. The league would very much appreciate a Game 7, I would guess, in this series. So the extender, Scott Foster's in there. Satan Foster, whatever you want to call him. I can't remember his first name. It's either Satan or Scott or something like that. But he's not loved here in Portland, that's for sure. But yeah, 70 free throws. Do you think we need that in a Game 5? The Spurs were 28 of 32 from the charity stripe, and the Thunder 33 of 38. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last night, 37 minutes, had 32 points. He made just 7 of 19 from the field, but he was 16 of 17 from the foul line to go along with 9 assists. He also had 6 turnovers. Victor Wembanyama, 4 of 15 from the field. He had 20 points, 6 boards, couple of turnovers. Really didn't have an impact on the game. Like, you didn't feel him on the floor. He didn't really make an impact. He wasn't a difference maker. And it's pretty obvious. In this series, they have 2 wins. Game 1 and Game 4. Both games where Victor Wembanyama was the best player on the floor. And for the Spurs to win this series, he's got to be the best player on the floor. It's an absolute must. They cannot win the series if he's not playing his dominant style of basketball. The Thunder, they can win this series if Shai's not at his best. And he hasn't been at his best in this series. He's had moments, but he hasn't shot the ball well. His true shooting percentage is down. He didn't shoot the ball well last night, but he got to the free throw line. So I guess the big question I have, why aren't the Spurs coaching staff and their guards doing a better job of getting Wemby the ball in a position to where he can make an impact? Because when he's not in the paint and he's at the mid-range, that's not his strength right now because he's not really elite when it comes to putting the ball on the floor and attacking the rim. You've got to get him the paint touches, the lobs, where he can really start to impact the game. And I think there was like 5 minutes left in the first half, and Wemby had 3 field goal attempts. He's the best player on the floor, you morons. Get him the basketball. So I'm curious to see what adjustments the Spurs are going to make sure that Wemby is a major factor in Game 6. It's very simple. If Wemby is a factor and he's getting his paint touches and he plays like he did in Game 1 and Game 4, then the Spurs will extend the series and we'll have a Game 7, which is what I want. I want a Game 7. I love the from being a factor. And Isaiah Hartenstein's allowed to continue to be physical and prevent him from being a factor on the. And Isaiah Hartenstein's allowed to continue to be physical and prevent him from being a factor on the glass. The Thunder are going to win this series in 6 games. All while the New York Knickerbockers are hanging out doing nothing for 8 days. And once again, they're going to get extended rest, and their guys should be 100% ready to rock when the NBA Finals kick off on June 3rd. All right, the Godfather Dwight Jane is going to stop by at 4:20, and we'll reset some of my conversation with Brian Berger from Sports Business Radio from yesterday. And then Brad Bach and Talking Hoop at 5:20. Michael Shacker is with me. I do appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday. It is spectacular outside. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Such a great song. One of my favorites from Journey. Kip Winger did a terrific cover on this song as well. I saw a little smile from Shacker. He's down with Kip Winger. Telephone number 503-248-0620. I had my man Tony out in Boring reach out, and he said, Wemby is awesome. I had my daughter come in and watch him in the huddle communicating with his teammates. So mature for such a young, super talented guy. That dude is going to be one of the best ever. Now, he's right. And if you saw in the second half, Thunder came out after halftime, and they jumped out to a 20-point lead, and they were dominating. And you could see Wemby on the sideline talking with his dudes. And keep in mind, he's right. He's a young guy. But he was communicating with his guys saying, look, can we just get a little more physicality and purpose in what we're doing out there? And then they went and turned the game around and got right back into it. And I agree, Wemby, here, you know what I love most about Wemby? It's very simple. He cares. Like, the guy wants to win, and he's willing to sacrifice to make that happen. Like, when you know, I mean, think about some of the players or athletes or teams that you've watched growing up, teams you really care about. Like, for me, I always use John Elway as an example because I love the guy. But think about the players and athletes that you care about. Like, when they are out there grinding and communicating with their teammates and showcasing that type of care and desire, don't you love that? I mean, like, if I just know that it matters to them as much as it does to me, like that, I get off on that kind of stuff. Because I hate that sensation when I'm like, wait a second, do I care more about this than they do? How can I care more about it than they do? But sometimes I feel like that's the case. So I agree with Tony. He also went on to say, no issues with Wemby not doing the post-game interview. I think some of the best have done that in the past. He's protecting himself as he knows he's not going to be able to hold back from saying unfavorable comments shortly removed from the heat of competition. I get it. And see, that's a very good point. We always want our athletes to talk right after the game, right? And especially when the reporters are asking dumb questions. Did you see the interview with SGA after the game? Like, can you come up with a worse list of questions? That's the best you got. You could tell he was disinterested like 2 seconds in. It's like, come on, man. That's the best you got? Anyways, horrible. So we always want our guys to talk and show that type of accountability. But then when they do talk and then they're really honest and share things, people get mad at them. Like, you can't win. I would have gone off on the officials last night, once again, just being a complete disaster. I would have fines from here to wazoo from my inability not to criticize the officials. One of these days, I just pray before I die. I really want a couple of things. One, a Trailblazer championship so you and me and everyone else in town can go and celebrate in a parade on Broadway in downtown Portland. I think that would be dope. And then I want one day to where these leagues stop protecting the officials who suck at their job, and I mean stink to high heaven, that type of suckage, and force them to do post-game interviews as well. The players are held accountable. The coaches are held accountable. Why shouldn't the officials? They're the ones who impact the game. NBA officials really can control a game and the outcome based on how they call it. But no, we can't talk about them. We can't criticize them. What are they, God? They're unquestionable? They suck. All right? You know it and I know it. The NBA officiating is a disaster, just like the NFL and any other league. They can't get it right. They're dumb. Dum-dums. And then you've got Adam Silver, who only warns. It's like my Nana trying to discipline me when I was little Chad. Adam Silver is like the softest guy ever. He also needs the sun in the worst way ever. I've never seen a guy more pasty that looks more like Skeletor than that guy. Adam Silver is trying to run the league into the ground after David Stern built it up and developed all the key partnerships and relationships. Stern ruled with an iron fist. Silver rules with a limp stick. That's how he rolls. Soft. It's terrible. Come on, man. You got to at least lay the hammer down. I have no issue with Wemby deciding to be like, screw it, I'm out. I'm not going to talk to anybody tonight. I'm pissed. Good. But he should still be fined because he decided to walk out on his responsibility. But no, we gave him a warning. Really? Now, how'd you say that, Commissioner? Hey, Wemby, I'm ashamed of you. You were a bad man. You're a bad boy, Wemby. You better make sure you do your interviews next time or else. It's pretty funny. I knew when my Nana would give me a talking to, she didn't really mean what she was saying because she didn't have it in her heart to try and really discipline me. She would just make me cry when she would say things like, I'm really disappointed in you. That was the worst. I remember one time, I'm not even sure what was going through my little brain. Nothing much, I can tell you that. It goes back to the dual Daisy BB/pellet gun I had. It's one of the greatest gifts of all time. Why you would give that to a child, I have no idea. But I had one, and it was awesome. One pump, and you're ready to rock, pellet or BB. Well, I decided to shoot up Nana's bird feeder that was beautiful. I don't know why I did it. It's because I had a BB gun with pellets. So I laced it. Basically, I sprayed that thing down like Rambo. And she came out, and she's like, the look on her grill was amazing. She's like, well, why on earth would you do that? And she looked at me straight in my eyes, and she goes, I'm really disappointed in you. And that was enough to get me to break down from the inside out. Because the last person on the planet that I ever wanted to be disappointed in me was Nana. Because she's an angel. So there you go. So, Wemby, you got to love that. Commissioner Silver, Wemby, if you do that again, we're going to really lay the hammer down. I'm sure you will. Softy. He's soft. Commissioner is. So, anyways, we'll see what happens in Game 6. I'll tell you one thing. You might want to get Wemby some paint touches, idiots. How can that be? How can he have like 3 field goal attempts with 5 minutes to go in the first half, and he's their best player? So, it's not just on Coach Johnson. It's on Johnson, the staff, and it's also on his teammates to make sure that they're deliberately getting him in the ball in a position to where he can attack. Because if you're not, you're done. So I put that on De'Aaron Fox. He's got to do a better job. Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle, they've got to focus more. You've got to get him involved. He's great. But the Thunder, unlike the Spurs, they don't need SGA to be great to win games because they're so deep. They have too many guys. And you've got Caruso, who's playing out of his mind right now. How good is that guy? Nice job by the Lakers to let him walk. They got nothing in return. Morons. You don't think you could have used that guy? Caruso, great defender, great leader, plays with passion, and knocks down the 3. And he's played extremely well in this series. So that's where I'm at on that. I don't have a problem with Wemby doing what he did. He should have been fined. The officials were a disaster last night, like they are most nights. And Scott Foster, the extender, has been brought in for Game 6. Now, for me, I don't care which one of these teams wins. I really don't. I despise both teams. The Spurs, I'm mad at because they crushed the Blazers, and Oklahoma City can suck it. So I don't care about either team. I do love watching Wemby play, and even though he does a great job of drawing contact, let's put it that way, I like watching SGA play too. And the one thing I appreciate about him, when he's not getting his calls, he does not whine and act like a buffoon like a lot of these NBA guys do. I mean, the problem is, the only thing I hate about the replay system that they got set up where you can, force the challenge or whatever, every player, every time a whistle's blown, they give the old let's review it sign to the bench. And, of course, 99.9% of the time they're dead wrong. Anyways, I'm pulling for a Game 7. But Oklahoma City's the better team. And they're going to win the series. But the Spurs are getting valuable experience. And they're going to be just fine. Like, if you're a Spurs fan, you would be elated right now. Can you imagine if the Spurs were the Blazers, how jacked up we'd be? I mean, I'd be popping rod. I'd be like, whoa, we got Wemby, we got Harper, we got Castle, we got Vassell. We got everything we need. We're going to dominate the next decade. So Spurs fans, regardless of results, should be happy. But they've got to get Wemby involved. And him having 3 field goal attempts with 5 minutes to go in the first half last night was, well, it's reprehensible. If somebody should have been fined over that too. He's got 3 shots? Well, what's up with that? And I thought Wembanyama was not, well, he wasn't really aggressive last night. But this is when you find out what a great player is made all about. Coming off a crap performance in Game 5, going back home, can you put your team on your back and deliver the victory? And that's what I want to see. Now, I've been talking to a couple other people today, too. I'm wondering about the Knicks. I'm starting to think that they have a chance. Before, when the playoffs were just getting underway, to me, it didn't matter who came out of the East because they're all going to get cold-cocked by the Spurs or the Thunder. But as the playoffs have gone on and I see how well connected the Knicks are on both ends and the way they're playing, I'm like, could they? Is it possible? I now think it's possible. I think the Knicks can win the championship. And I think that's what I'm going to pull for because I like this group of guys. I thought Mike Brown was a buffoon. It's like, you're going to hire Mike Brown and get rid of Thibodeau? Are you crazy? I lost all respect for Mike Brown several years ago when he was coaching the Cavs and LeBron was there. LeBron had an injury. I forgot what the injury was, but he was coming back from injury, and Mike Brown's like, they brought him off the bench initially for a few games, and Mike Brown was asked about it, and he said, well, I just want to make sure that LeBron has a feel for the game. When I heard that, I was like, are you dumb? Hey, Mike Brown, he's LeBron. I think he's got a pretty good feel for the game. You might want to put his ass in the starting lineup. So ever since then, I've questioned whether or not the guy knows what he's doing. But I know he's well-respected, he's well-liked, and I'm happy to see him do well. And look at where he's got the Knicks, back in the finals for the first time in 27 years, if you can believe that. 1999 was the last time. So the Spurs are there. The Knicks are there, and they're going to wait for the Spurs or Thunder. But I like this Knicks group. I think they've got a chance. I didn't think so before, but after seeing them play, and I know they've been beating up on tomato cans, but as it was pointed out to me today, they're not just winning those games, they're completely annihilating the competition. And that's what you should do against those bums, the Cavs and the Sixers, both teams in disarray. And once they figured it out against Atlanta, they just cranked it up several notches. And they've been on fire ever since, 11 straight wins. But I like their guys. Mikal Bridges, cool. OG Anunoby, very cool, tough, two-way players, both those guys. Mitchell Robinson cannot shoot a free throw to save his life, but I like his energy. Jalen Brunson is awesome. And Karl Anthony Towns is cool. They got a bunch of likable guys. So I'm down with the Knicks. I want to see them win, and I'm going to continue to pull for them. So we'll see. Isn't that weird? Like, if Oklahoma City gets in, don't you think the majority of people are going to be pulling for New York because they're just tired of OKC and the flopping or the perceived flopping or whatever you want to call it? Normally, people hate on New York because they believe they're better than everybody else. And after visiting their city the first time, I was like, oh, this is why they're so arrogant. That place is amazing. I have been to Madison Square Garden, not for a game, but for a concert on back-to-back nights. It was epic. Really cool experience. I'd love to go to a Knicks game there. But it's old school. Like when I walked in, like it's just different in New York. The ushers were dressed up and looked really sharp and were very helpful. The venue's great for acoustics for concerts, but I was down. And it's right there by Penn Station. So you've got the subway right there. It's right there in the heart of New York. It's pretty sweet. So we're going to get a chance to experience that atmosphere. Madison Square Garden's been great through the playoffs this year. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number if you want to reach out. The Godfather, Dwight Jane's going to come up at 4:20. Brad Botkin, he was going to join us yesterday. He forgot that he was going to join us yesterday, so he's going to join us today at 5:20 and talk hoop. And we'll get his take on Game 6. But that's what do you want a Game 7? I would imagine you do. I certainly do. I want to see Wemby in a Game 7. I want to see them force that. Can they get over tomorrow, or are they going to go back home and just come out flat? My guess is Wemby will nut up. He'll have a dominant game. They're going to force the Game 7. And then we can sit back and enjoy that. And again, if you ask me, if I had a choice, give me the rest. I want the rest. If I'm the Knicks, I'm feeling great about things. Yeah, I might come out a little bit rusty in Game 1, but give me the rest. Let me be energized and let our guys who have the bumps and the bruises or whatever get healthy. All right, I want to share a couple of clips. Brian Berger of Sports Business Radio joined me yesterday, and he came out, and he's one of the people in town that believes that Tom Dundon's going to look to move the team. Now, I've been in disagreement with a lot of the reporting on Tom Dundon. I don't think he's going to move the team. I think the Trailblazers will get a deal done with the city council. The money's in place. The NBA, in my mind, from everything I've heard, does not want the Trailblazers to be relocated. I don't think Portland's going anywhere. I think it's going to happen. And it was pointed out to me yesterday with this expanded council, the situation's going a little bit slower than what you would hope for. But of course they're going to get a deal done. Well, what's the other possible outcome? They're going to let the Blazers walk, and Dundon eventually moves the team, and then they lose all of their political capital. They don't want that to happen. So they'll get a deal done. I believe that. And I also don't understand a lot of the criticism coming after Dundon. Maybe it's because people in town just hate billionaires. They think they're evil. Have you ever met a billionaire? I don't think I have. Shacker, have you had a chance to cross paths with a billionaire? Well, I did. I met Paul Allen. I did. I have met one billionaire that I'm aware of, Paul Allen, and he was cool. So I know a lot of people just think billionaires are evil. Oh, no one should have that much money. But Tom Dundon's had success with his hockey team. In fact, smashing success. They'll be back at it in the Eastern Conference Final tonight against Montreal. They're 2 wins away from the Stanley Cup Finals. I know people are upset about the cutbacks, but, you know, that's his job, is to take over the franchise and get the business side in order. And he's kept a lot of good people in place on the basketball side. He wants to win. He'll invest to do it, and that excites me. I think Blazer fans should be excited. I do not think the team's going to move, but there are people that do. And Brian Berger had a couple of things to say. I asked him about, you know, Jody Allen, Bert Cole. What's their role in the situation that we're in right now?
If you look at Herb Cole, who is the former owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, when he sold the Bucks, there was no such stipulation put in the agreement to Tom Dundon, the team. There was no such stipulation put in the agreement to Tom Dundon. There was no such stipulation put in the agreement when Howard Schultz sold the Sonics to Clay Bennett, and we know how that turned out. I would have put a stipulation in there saying you cannot relocate the team. We're going to help you figure out a new agreement where you're going to keep the team in Portland for the next 20 to 30 years. It can't relocate. They could have done a lot more on their end to not leave it up in the air where it's now a battle of the city of Portland versus Tom Dundon. And I think you and I would both agree, I don't want to speak for you, but I don't have the most amount of faith in the city of Portland and the state of Oregon to negotiate a deal. And if you want, I'll tell you why.
All right, there's Berger on that situation. He also shared his thoughts on the lease and what needs to happen to make that deal right.
I believe so. And the 20-year lease, again, there's different ways you can sign a lease. You can sign a lease. Like the lease they're in right now makes the team very portable. It's a 5-year bridge agreement that was signed, I think, a year ago. If you're going to unlock the full $600 million, certain things have to happen. But one of the things that has to be in this agreement is that you can't relocate the team. There's all kinds of legalities that even if you sign a 20-year lease, you can get out of it in certain ways. You have to have in there, like the previous agreement, the 30-year agreement that existed when Paul Allen signed it in 1995, you cannot relocate this team. That same agreement needs to be drafted this time around as well.
All right, here's what I can tell you. And this goes back to what I was mentioning yesterday. I can't give the specifics away because I was told I can't talk about it. But there are some very grandiose ideas for how to revitalize the area around the Rose Quarter, around the Rose Garden, or the Moda Center, or whatever the heck you call that building. I mean, really good ideas. Like what I was told, I'm like, oh, that could work. And the ideas that they have would be able to pump some revenue back into the city, which would be terrific. So I like that. But from what I've been told from the people on the business side who are looking to get some of these deals done, they know Dundon and have been in communication with him for quite some time. And I've asked the question on more than one occasion. I'm like, okay, if the deal gets done and the funding comes through, is that his plan to keep the team here? And the answer was yes. Now, of course, if the deal doesn't come through and the city council bumbles it, or the state were to say no, or something like that, which we don't expect to happen, then, yeah, Dundon would have to look at other options. But the idea has been from the get-go, get the deal done with the state, city, and the county, get the improvements done to the arena, and they'll sign that 20 or 30-year lease, whatever the terms end up being. That's the bottom line. So, again, I'm not worried about this team moving. And a lot of people I've heard comment on this situation, they haven't talked to Dundon. It's not like they've got any type of deep insider connection to people who are making decisions right now. They're just sharing their feelings or their opinions or whatever. It's mostly just BS. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I want to talk about my dental experience today. I'm telling you, man, I don't care what the procedure is. I am all in on the nitrous, the laughing gas. It has changed every single appointment. I went in for the cleaning today. They dropped that thing on me. And before you know it, like 2 minutes later, every thought's euphoric. And I don't want to strangle anyone now because I hate going to the dentist. So I'll share that story. Dwight's coming up at 4:20. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. If you want to interact with me, I'd love to hear your voice. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, my daughter, Kaylee, just called me and said, I think I want to get a job at a golf course. I'm like, good. Opportunities. And then once you get in, then your whole objective will be to get me more opportunities to play golf. And once you get in, then your whole objective will be to get me more opportunities to play golf. Yeah, she called me and she's like, I think what she's trying to do is she's trying to find ways to where she can start driving sooner because of her discipline from getting caught sneaking out. I think that's what her play is, but we'll find out. You know, kids, they're smart enough. They're always scheming. So you always got to wonder, like, wait a second, why is she asking me this now? I would say that she's trying to skirt the grounding a little bit on the driving. So we'll see. But that's kind of what happened there. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can reach out. You can jump on board. 503-248-0620. Tony once again chimes in. He says, oh, my God, I totally agree. Caruso was badass last night. I was praising him as well. Told her, talking about his daughter, that's a sixth man that the Blazers could definitely use. And for some reason, I feel like he's going to play for us sometime down the road. Well, I'd love that. You know, Caruso's just a winning basketball player. You know players, you know who I'm talking about. Guys who can play any role. He can start. He can come off the bench. He's a good defender, a two-way player. He can make threes. And I also like his competitive attitude. He was talking junk to LeBron when the Thunder were kicking the Lakers' tails in the first round. It was amazing. And I'm like, give me more of that. Also, Tony says, people's hatred for billionaires stems from the classic Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life. That Potter guy was a serious prick. Can I say that on radio? I'm pretty sure I know who your secret informant is, and you cannot disclose to us. No, that's not it. You're wrong, Tony. That's not a secret informant. This is someone that's involved with other businesses, let's just say outside of the Portland area. In fact, the picture you just sent me, I told that person about some of the vague details that I had heard and told him he knew to investigate that. So I was helping him. So nice try, Tony. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. It's too bad the Mariners can't play every game down in Sacramento. I mean, they're really a pain in the ass, the Mariners. You start to get sucked in, and then they have a horrific series, and then they go to Sacramento and they start smoking the A's. And they start to suck you back in when you know they're only going to let you down. But they're a frustrating team to watch. If they get the hits and they're putting runs up on the board, they can't get the pitching, but usually it's the other way around. Good pitching, but no offense, no run support. So I'm just going to tune out until we get closer to playoff time. So that's frustrating. The one thing I want to talk about with the Godfather coming up at 420, I think Ohtani might be the best pitcher in baseball right now. I think he's given up like 4 earned runs in like 59 innings of action. It's pretty ridiculous. So it's almost like I think he's setting out to win the Cy Young. And it's like, Ohtani, he's like a modern-day Babe Ruth. I just can't get over how good he is. It's like, I'm going to hit 50 home runs. I'm going to steal this many bags. He's a dominant baseball player, but the pitching this year has been impressive. And I was adamantly against the idea of him pitching. I thought it was ridiculous. It's like, dude, his bat's too important. Why would you want to risk the injury with him being up on the bump, and then you see him pitch? It's like, oh, he wants to pitch because he might be the best pitcher in baseball. So I want to get Dwight's thoughts on whether or not that will continue. And also, we'll get his take on the Oregon State Beavers as they get ready to kick off the, Shacker's got his Beaver sweatshirt on right now. But they don't get to host. They're going to be down at the Eugene Regional. And I think if the Beavs and the Ducks either both win or both lose, based on what Rich Burke was telling me yesterday, they'll get a chance to face up. How cool would that be to get a little Civil War action in the regional? I would be down with that. And I'm sure most of the people here would be down with that. and I would like to see that. So I want to find out. A lot of people I know think the Beavs should be hosting in Corvallis, but we'll get Dwight's take on it. It's really hard with the RPI. The scheduling as an independent is really impossible. And how many good teams want to come up to Corvallis to schedule some losses on their slate? Oh, yeah, we'll just come out to Corvallis and get steamrolled by the Beavs. They don't want to do it. So they're in a tough spot scheduling-wise, and it cost them with the RPI, and that's why they're in Eugene for the regional there. So we'll get a little preview on that. I can't wait to talk to Brad Bach and, the Spurs and Thunder. We'll get his take on Game 6. But I also want to know, how can Wemby, with 3 shots with 5 minutes to go in the first half, they got to get him more involved. The 2 games or 3 shots with 5 minutes to go in the first half, they got to get him more involved. The 2 games they've won, he's been dominant. The 2 games or 3 games where he hasn't, he's been an afterthought. I should feel him on the floor when he was on the floor. And the other issue last night, too, they might want to try to win the minutes when Wemby's on the floor and Shea is off. I think they were -8 in that category last night. It's wait a second. So Shea's not in the game. Wemby's on the floor and you still get smoked. That's a problem. Might want to figure that out. And you might want to convince the young guards to be a little more selective with their shots. And I would tell them, dude, I'm going to put your ass on the bench if you don't start dishing it to Wemby. I want Wemby touching the ball constantly. Now, give me some volume on this. This reminds me of young Chad in the 80s during the summertime going to Bell's Amusement Park in Tulsa, Oklahoma, riding roller coasters and having a good time. And this is a good song. Well, it's a good song for the 80s. It's one of those songs that takes me back to my childhood. My house. All right, 503-248-0620. The Godfather coming up at 420. Brad Bach at 520. You're welcome to join. 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 4 o'clock. We start with the NBA playoffs, where last night the Thunder topped the Spurs in Game 5 at Paycom Center down in Oklahoma City, and they now have a 3-2 series lead. Game 6 tomorrow night down in San Antonio. Spurs favored by 3.5, who are going to look to force a Game 7 on Sunday. Victor Wembanyama was warned by the NBA for passing on talking to reporters after the game. The NBA Finals will not begin until June 3rd, which means the Knicks will get 8 days off. The Godfather Dwight James will stop by at 4:20. We will talk NBA with Brad Bakken at 5:20. Checking the Major League scoreboard. Bottom of the first in Baltimore. Orioles on top of the Rays, 5-zip. Tigers early 1-0 lead on the Angels in Detroit. The Cubs looking to snap a 10-game slide. They have a 2-0 lead on the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Braves and Red Sox scoreless. Mariners top the A's 9-1 down in Sacramento. And this is one of the more underrated Michael Jackson songs right here. Another example of a good video as well. Leave me alone. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We'll talk to the Godfather coming up at 4:20. I've got another practice round with his wife, Nancy, this weekend coming up at Willamette Valley. We got a tournament coming up in just under 2 weeks. Looking forward to that. Had a great workout today. And looking forward to getting some golf action in tomorrow morning. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And Rich Burke will stop by once again for a bonus segment here on the Rip City Drive at 6 o'clock. And as I mentioned yesterday, I saw the Mandalorian and Grogu movie twice over the weekend. It was awesome. Shacker saw it. He liked it. So if you're a fan of The Mandalorian, you're going to love the movie. So go check it out. I encourage you to do so. All right, let's check in with the San Antonio Spurs. I'm a little frustrated with their inability to get Wemby in a position to succeed last night. Now, he was a non-factor. And he had like 3 shots with 5 minutes to go in the first half. That's unacceptable. They can't win the series if he's not in a position to dominate. And that's going to be important in Game 6 tomorrow. And Coach Johnson was asked after the game, like, what needs to be done differently? What does he need to do differently? What can you do to get Wemby going?
Mitch, how did you think Victor played? And can you do more to get him going?
We're going to need to. He's got to take more than 15 shots, even with the free throws. And, yeah, he's going to have to score more than 20 points for sure. And
is that his aggression or game plan or combination of both?
Yeah, combination of both for sure. OKC did a good job. We got to do a better job. And that's, yeah, probably the easiest in terms of when you just surface level stuff that he'll definitely need to take more shots. But there's a lot of things all over the place where even when we had advantages and we just didn't make simple plays that take advantage of the opportunity in that possession. And in this type of game, you got to be sure of everything you're doing in a very secure, mature way.
All right, there's Coach Johnson. He's got coach voice once again. He also talked about some of the poor decision-making by his team last night. And this goes back to some of the things we talked about. Shots put up early in the shot clock by their guards, turnovers, not going out of their way and making an effort to collapse the defense, get the ball in Wemby's hands. You got to get him more lobs, got to get him in a position to have success, and Coach talked about that.
Coach, OKC and Shea were able to generate many free throws compared to Game 4. What was the reason for you? Do you think it was the poor decisions you were talking about in terms of like discipline and defense?
Yeah, in the second quarter there, for sure, we had some times where, fouls or not, we need to be more aware of when we're in the bonus. And so, they got some free throws where they weren't in an advantage at that moment, or we weren't in a bad spot or out of position. And so you just got to understand, especially if you're on the perimeter and there's a lot of space around, the overly physical stuff, if you give the ref the opportunity to call it, and now someone gets free throws and didn't really have to work to get to that or get us in a spot where we were at a disadvantage, that's where numbers can get big for giving up points in a quarter.
All right, there you go. And I know a lot of people complain about the officiating and, Shea's ability to fall down and get foul calls. But a lot of those calls last night were legit on Shea. And it's a result of the Spurs guards being too aggressive. If you reach, if you're out of position, you've got to be understanding, like Coach said, about where you're at with the penalty. But that's going to come with the youth, and we're seeing some of those mistakes. Taking too many chances on defense, biting on the pump fake when it comes to Shea, poor shot quality. They've got to pay attention to those details. You can't get away with making mistakes on a regular basis against a team like Oklahoma City, or they'll make you pay. They're too good. All right, we'll dive into this with Dwight James coming up at 4:20. I went to the dentist today, and I'm going to say something. I'm embarrassed, but I'm going to say it. So a couple of years ago, I went in and, I was talking with my hygienist, and so I really just went all in on, not that I haven't had good hygiene, but, flossing twice a day, brushing, doing everything that they laid out. And so I've been doing that now for 2 years, floss every day. And make sure I brush and just trying to, just see if there's a difference, right? Because as you get older, like some of the recession on the gums, I was looking to see if I could, you can't change it, but you can prevent, some of the slippage there. So I did. I went all in on the flossing, the brushing. You got the electric toothbrush, like everything that she said. I'm all in. And then I went in today, 5 cavities, 5 small ones. And I'm like, what the I may have said a bad word. I can't remember exactly. I was like, what's going on? And they're like little small ones. And I don't know, something about bacteria or whatever. But I was really distraught because I'm like, dude, I've been doing everything you told me to do. So the doctor gave me a prescription of this different toothpaste or whatever. So I'm going to try that. But my hygienist, her name is Minda. And let's just say that the first time her and I had a chance to meet, it was not rainbows, unicorns, and sunshine. I hate the dentist, like with all of my heart. I hate being there. I have anxiety about it. It doesn't matter what the process is, whether it's a filling, I'm getting a crown, I'm getting a cleaning. I have irrational fear about being under the chair. And it's because I had a bad experience when I was young, first time I went to the dentist. So I despise it. I don't like being there. And so I let them know up front, like, look, I'm a pain in the ass. I have anxiety. I don't want to be here. And of course, I explain that. And then I sit down in the chair, and this lady starts going to work on me. And my mouth is real sensitive to like temperature and stuff. And I was reacting to it. I'm like, yeah, I put it in my chart. I've let them know that my mouth is sensitive, and you're obviously not paying attention to that. And so her and I got into it, and she's like, I don't have to work on you. And so we were about to part ways right there 30 minutes after we met. But cooler heads prevailed, and she hooked me up on the nitrous. And every time I've used nitrous, it's the only thing in the world where once they start and I start taking it in, every thought that goes through my mind is euphoric. I had nothing but positive thoughts. It's amazing. So she's like, she recommended, she's like, well, just use it every time. For cleanings, for fillings, whatever, just always use the nitrous. I'm like, that's a great idea. And so today I went in, had anxiety, didn't want to be there, but she hooked me up to the nitrous. And It was happy time. Everything she said sounded reasonable. I didn't feel a thing. I was just in my own happy little thoughts, which was great. But then she told me about the cavities. I was pissed. I'm like, great. I'm really glad I went through all the, went out of my way to do this and do that or whatever. So anyways, I had to reschedule. And she's like, I'll break it up into appointments. I'm like, no. I said, it's probably better if we just do everything all at once. It lessens my chance of being evicted from your building. And she laughed and agreed. But the cool thing is about her is that the more we've talked, and, we were born almost at the same time, have a lot of similar life experience. But what I've realized is that a lot of my fears are unreasonable. But I just, it freaks me out. I think mouth pain, maybe it's the, what do they call that? What do they call that when you have your wisdom teeth pulled and then dry socket? I think I got that too. Mouth pain to me is like the worst. It can bring you to your knees. So anyways, Minda's great. And so I have, through her helping me through my irrational fear, encouraging me to use the nitrous. And I think with insurance, I think I paid like $57 for an appointment for the nitrous, for the laughing gas or whatever that stuff is. It's the best $57 a person can spend. How is it I can be in a place that I hate and I despise, and yet every thought going through my mind is euphoric? So I like that. And then the dentist, I think her last name's Young. She's beautiful. And so I love her. She's great. She comes in. She's like, we'll do this. We'll do that. So there you go. I'm learning. But, I mean, do you raise your hand if you hate the dentist. I think everyone's got fears about certain things. I just rarely go to the doctor because I haven't had to, fortunately. But with the dentist, it's like, oh, my goodness. But I'm really distraught about this. So I got a prescription for this different toothpaste. And it's supposed to be more preventative. So we'll try that out and see how it works. But I go back in a couple of weeks. But Minda's great now. I went from hating her to now I think I really like her. But I like it because she just tells me how it is. She basically, in so many, she basically just told me to stop being a pussycat. That's pretty much what it was. Like, dude, grow a pair. Like, she showed some toughness, man. She's like, dude, you got to settle down. Use the nitrous, settle down, and stop being a jerk. So we laughed about me being an a-hole, and the rest is history. But there you go. Not one, not two, 5 cavities. I remember back when I was in grade school, they would bring in like these people from the dentist's office to like help you with your hygiene and stuff. I think I need to go back to grade school. I'm really ticked off. Why would I go through all that effort only to have them tell me that? So there you go. I'm ashamed, but we'll get that problem fixed. All right, The Godfather's going to come up next. We'll talk to him about Shohei Ohtani's effort to be the greatest baseball player ever. That's what he looks like he wants to do. He's pitching maybe better than anyone in baseball right now. We'll get his take on Oregon and Oregon State in the Eugene Regional. We'll get his latest thoughts on the city council and their efforts to get a deal done with the Trailblazers so Moda Center can be upgraded. You can reach out 503-248-0620. And someone asked me again the other day, how's The Godfather? I'm like, no, he won't tell me. I do not know his age, and I'm not going to ask him. It's inappropriate. And then Brad Bakken at 520. I appreciate your time. Hope you're having a good day. And what irrational fears do you have? Is it the dentist? Do you hate going to the doctor? I know some people have an irrational fear of heights. Like, what is yours? You got the Rip City Drive. All right, my friend Dave Randall reached out. He's one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life. He said, Chad, my irrational fear is public speaking, even though I've been on the radio with you 3 times. I would say that that's probably at the top, right? When they do these type of polls or questionnaires, people usually come back with public speaking. Being up in front of a large body of people and speaking to them, that's usually right there near the top. I just hate going to the dentist, that's all. I absolutely despise it. Now, Tony told me that he had the same issue. I was a little disappointed in my last visit. I had a couple of small cavities, too, and they gave me the Prevident. I'm going to go in tomorrow to get taken care of. Lame. Yes, it is lame. And joining us right now is the man, the Godfather, Dwight James. Make sure you check out his Substack. And, hey, Dwight, thank you for having me out. It was great to be on the golf course out at Willamette Valley Country Club with you and Nance and just hanging out. I thought Saturday was awesome, and the weather turned out to be perfect.
It was a lot of fun, Chad. We had a great time, and it was nice of you to join us for lunch. We had a great time there, too, and it's always good for our reputation when a celebrity like you can come in and hang out with us. You know, it really does good. But I got to tell you, 5 cavities. No wonder you hate going to the dentist.
I can't believe
grief.
it. Godfather,
holy cow.
I put in the time and the effort. I was so bitter because – you know, the hygienist was like, do this, do that. So for the last 2 years, I have flossed twice a day. Like, I've been all over the proper hygiene. And then I go in today, and they're like, oh, there's a couple of cavities. I said, well, how many? Well, we found 5. I'm like, what? I almost lost my mind. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm going to go in 2 weeks and get them all taken care of. They're all minor, but I'm like, what in the world's going on? So the dentist gave me a prescription to this stuff called Prevident. I have no idea what that is, but it's supposed to be more preventative. And she was telling me that some people are just more susceptible to them. But I'm like, gosh, dang, man. I'm glad I put in all that time to floss twice a day. It was a real pain in the ass only to get 5 cavities. Gosh.
Chad, we should have done a few shows with that nitrous oxide, too. That might have been a fun show.
Have you ever used nitrous, Godfather?
No, I didn't know they used it for, I mean, if you need that to do a tooth cleaning, holy cow, Chad, you're pretty soft, I think.
Well, Dwight,
right?
you've worked with me, so you know that I'm kind of an a-hole, but let me tell you something, and you know this is true. I am not the nicest of people at all times, but as soon as they strap that mask on and I start taking in the nitrous, every single thought that I have is euphoric. I couldn't even think of anything mean to say to anyone because I'm happy. I just think it's a great experience. That's all.
We should have had Mike Shacker learn how to give us that and use it for. We could use it for show prep, and that would have been fun show prep in those days.
Oh my gosh, the show prep would have been the best. The problem is the show would have been too happy. We would have had no criticism of anybody throughout the entire show. But yeah, you gotta. If you're ever in a position to try nitrous, I want you to do it because you're going to come back, I think, with the same experience that I did. It's like, and the best part is once they take it off, they give you a little oxygen. There's no like after effects like when you drink or anything like that. You just feel, you're like, okay, I got to go to work now. I feel normal. It's amazing. It's great.
Well, it would be good for my image if I was happy, Chad. That just wouldn't work.
That's right. Because, Dwight, you're supposed to be a fan of the teams that you cover. You should know this by now.
Yeah,
damn it. Come on, man.
Yeah, I should. If I don't like covering the team here, I should just move somewhere else where I could root for the team.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, I want to start with baseball because I came across these numbers, and I think you and I were on the same page, but I was pretty much against the idea of Shohei Ohtani pitching because I thought it was a bad idea because his bat's so important to the Dodger lineup. But Godfather, right now he's got 49 innings under his belt. He's going to go tonight against the Rockies. He's got 4 earned runs in 49 innings. Like, this guy is pitching like he wants to win the frickin' Cy Young.
What's his batting average, by the way?
That's a good question. Let me take a quick peek at the batting average. Yeah, because that's the question, right? It's like, how much is he going to be impacted by that? Right now, he's averaging...
My intuition, Chad. Go ahead.
270.
Yeah, my intuition has always been that, the baseball people in the long run are kind of right. He'd be a better pitcher if he just pitched, and he'd be a better hitter if he just hit.
Yeah.
Now, he is kind of pulling it off. He got off to a horrible start with the bat, though.
Oh, brutal.
And he's bringing it up now. But it's real interesting that he's doing that well hitting now. And, yeah, he's pitching great. There's no question about it.
I guess what I realize now, I can understand why he wants to do it because he really can do both, and I think he wants to showcase those abilities, right? So in his mind, he's like, hey, I want to do both because I'm great at both. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah. Well, it's part of his brand, you know.
Yeah.
That's the important part, too. You know, it's what he does. It's what he's known for most of all. And I don't blame him for wanting to hold on to that. That's worth a lot of money to him.
All right, Godfather. I know you weren't surprised. Oregon State has to open up on the road in the Eugene Regional to kick off the postseason. I think there are a lot of Beaver fans who are upset they're not hosting, but you and I were talking about this over the weekend. It's really hard for the Bees right now to schedule the quality of opponent you need as an independent to get that RPI up, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's their scheduling. It's a nightmare, and really they're going to join the conference next year. It's not going to be a lot easier. There actually are a couple of pretty good baseball schools joining that conference, but it's still not going to be like it was in the old Pac-12 where they had really, really good traditional baseball schools. So it's still going to be hard for them to schedule. And I've told people this too, you know, Oregon State early in the baseball season, they play in the rain. They don't rain out games. They've got the turf and they just play. They play right through the rain. If you're a SoCal team or Southwestern or Southeastern team, you don't want to come up and play them in the rain. It's hard enough to beat them in Corvallis anyway, but playing in the rain, and I've seen that against teams that are used to playing in the sunshine and warm, they don't do so well in the rain, and that's part of it too. They don't want to get caught in that sort of thing, and so there you are. It's going to be difficult for them. Honestly, their seeding, I believe, was really damaged when they lost Dax Whitney to the Tommy John surgery. All of a sudden now, instead of having the best pitching staff in the country, they don't have that anymore. All of their pitchers now, their number 2 is now their number 1, their number 3 is now number 2, and they have to find a new number 3. That has hurt them probably in all 3 of those spots, and that I can see, you know, and the NCAA committees, you go back in the playoffs in football even. You saw a certain quarterback go out for Florida, and all of a sudden, man, they weren't as big an item in the seeding as they would have been if they had their starting quarterback. And this is much the same thing. They take these things into consideration.
That's a great point. You know, how unique would it be? I think if Oregon and Oregon State both win or if they both lose, they're going to face off. How cool would that be to have a Civil War matchup in the playoffs?
It would be pretty cool. I still think I've watched this for many years now, Chad, and I've always believed the NCAA matches up some of the good West Coast teams early in the playoffs so they don't have to put up with a lot of West Coast teams in Omaha. They match them up together so that only one advances. And I saw this back several years ago when a lot of the good Pac-12 teams and teams, you know, like Cal Fullerton and Santa Barbara, those teams had to play them too. And it just cut down on the number of teams that might have gotten back to Omaha. Meanwhile, there's so many SEC teams seeded well that they're going to have a ton in Omaha again. And that's unfortunate because they're not always that good. Same as football. They're not always as good as they say they are.
How deep do you think Oregon State can go?
Well, you know, Chad, I'd be surprised if they got out of the Eugene Regional. It's going to be a real chore for them. Oregon is really tough, and they're young enough that they've gotten better during the season, as Oregon State has too. But I think their pitching is better, and their offense is certainly better than Oregon State's.
And we're talking with the Godfather Dwight James here on the Rip City Drive. Oh, by the way, the pretzel in the clubhouse at Willamette Valley Country Club, I don't know how I did it, but I ate that whole freaking thing, man.
I know.
That thing was as giant as a wagon wheel.
It was good, though, and pretty good dipping sauce. And I know you're a sucker for those pretzels.
Oh, my God.
Man. You love those.
Yeah, you can't believe it. All right, let's talk a little basketball. Your brother, Bruce, the Godbrother, is going to freak out. He gets so pissed off when the Spurs don't get Wemby shot opportunities.
Oh, God.
And
did you get a text from him, too?
I did, and I think it's I usually know when your brother's got money on a particular team because I get random texts criticizing certain people, and he's been ticked off a couple of times in this series at Mitch Johnson. But I'll ask you this. I think it was like 5 minutes to go in the first half, and he had like 3 shot attempts. Like the Spurs, I mean, is it on the guards? Is it on the coaching staff? Like, don't they need to do a better job of getting him in a position to impact the game? Because when he's been impactful in the paint, games 1 and game 4, they win. When the Thunder have been able to push him away from the basket and get him in that mid-range, they win. So what's your take on this?
Well, I think they do need to get it to him more often. There's no question about that. Bruce texts me and he texts you whenever that's happening. So we do know there's money riding on that game, and we know which team it is. But, yeah, I think they do. But I think you got to give OKC a lot of credit, too. They're defending him very well and very physically. And they are putting him in some spots he doesn't want to be in. And he's having a little more trouble getting to his spots. And then you got to blame the guards a little bit. I mean, they're quick shooters. They're used to having a lot of success. They're probably not used to being guarded as well as they are in this series. But I got a bone to pick with you, too. You're really pulling for the Knicks in the finals?
Yeah, it's really tough. I think that if I think I'm going to pull for the Knicks, and it's because I don't care for any of the teams that remain. And so, but I do like the togetherness of this Knicks group and the way that they're playing. I've enjoyed watching Brunson. I like Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby and the way they play. So, yeah, I think I'd probably pull for the Knicks. It's painful, but I would do it because I don't have any love for OKC or San Antonio.
Okay, so you're going to be cool then watching Timothy Chalamet and Spike Lee up there drinking the champagne with those players and wearing their goofy Knicks gear and all that goofy stuff they do. You're okay with that, huh?
Well, when you put it that way, no. It annoys me just thinking about that. Like, that's despicable as well. But, it's weird. Like, I've never liked the Knicks at all. I've pretty much hated all of their teams in my lifetime. But I do like this group. I guess I like Brunson because I like undersized guards who find a way to overcome. His understanding of the angles, the way he can get to his spots, like he's impressive to me. And I got to be honest with you, I thought firing Thibodeau to hire Mike Brown was one of the dumbest things I'd ever seen in my life, and yet that worked out for him. But I do like Bridges and Anunoby because they play the right way. Two-way players who are unselfish. I like them.
Yeah, and I will say this, Chad. I don't dislike their players at all, and I've always liked Mike Brown, a good guy. It's just New York for me.
Yeah, the arrogance.
I have trouble. Yeah, all New York teams in any sport. I have some trouble being out here in the West and pulling for a New York team. They're always so overrated, over-publicized. I'm sick of hearing about Madison Square Garden and the Mecca and all that crap. I'm just kind of done with New York. I can't bring myself to root for them.
Well, and especially the fans, because they haven't won a title since, 72, 73, and they still act like New York is the Mecca of all basketball. Like that makes my stomach turn just a little bit. It's like, come on, man. You guys haven't done jack for most of my life.
They're always asking for sympathy for their long-suffering fans. I mean, long-suffering fans, there's still teams in this league who have never won a championship.
I know.
And then there's teams like Portland that haven't won one in 50 years, for crying out loud.
I know.
I mean, I don't feel sorry for them.
No, of course not. Now, I want to ask you this about the Knicks, because here's the dilemma that I have. Like, when the playoffs began, I was convinced that whoever came out of the West, probably Oklahoma City, was going to win the title. I didn't think anyone from the East, the Knicks, the Cavs, whoever had a chance to do that. So after seeing them and the way that they're dominating lesser competition, like, I'm now starting to wonder if the Knicks, like, do they have a legitimate chance in the finals to compete for a title against either San Antonio or Oklahoma City, or are they just benefiting from an easy run against some bad teams like Philly and Cleveland?
Chad, I could not believe that Philly even advanced. And then I don't know what happened to Boston anyway, but I think they have benefited from a pretty easy route. And then at the same time, they're going to benefit from how hard either OKC or San Antonio have had to play just to get to the finals. And that's a big benefit, I think. Those teams will be beat up, and I think they'll take advantage of that. And that's really what might put New York over the top.
Who do you think is going to win that game tomorrow? Do you think San Antonio will bounce back and force a Game 7? Do you think Oklahoma City ends it? I did see where the extender, Scott Foster's been sent in. How do you see Game 6 playing out?
Yeah, I kind of have a feeling San Antonio will win, and they'll have to go 7 games. It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that's the way it's going to go, probably.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say that because now my brother's going to jump back and double up his bet on San Antonio.
And he's going to be pissed off at you. Yeah, he'll be mad.
Yeah, it'll be my fault probably. But anyway, that's probably the way it'll go. And it's been, I'd like to see more close games. This has been a playoff year where we haven't had a ton of buzzer beaters and close games. We've had a couple, but not as many as you'd normally get.
I agree. I'd like to have a Game 7 and have it be a competitive Game 7, which would be nice. I wanted to ask you this. I was told yesterday that part of the reason why there's been a holdup or a delay in the process to get this deal done with the Blazers and the county is that with the expanded city council that it's kind of more convoluted. What are you hearing on the latest with the chats, the talks that are going on between the Blazers and the county?
Well, all I hear about is the Peacocks. And if you follow city council stuff in Portland, you know who the Peacocks are. Are you up on that, Chad?
I'm not. No, who are the Peacocks?
Well, the Peacocks are basically the socialists. They call themselves the Peacocks. They are the socialists on the county, and they're having problems with this.
Losers.
And so anyway, I think they're a stumbling block, and I think they do have a deal in principle, but it's not being signed yet. And my only concern of the whole thing, Chad, I've always wanted them to get this done, sign it, because Dundon has all the leverage. The council can't win in this deal. Just sign it and let's get going on the renovation, which should start this summer if they get it done quick enough. But the only thing that worries me, there can't be any sort of buyout, opt-out, any of that. There can't be any of that in the lease. You cannot give him an out. He's got to be fenced into at least 20 years, or it's not going to work. Because you just can't commit that kind of money knowing he could get out of here if he wants. And that might be what is holding it up, because I was told he wanted such a clause in the deal. And I don't know if that's changed. I do know I'm going to be very critical if they sign something with a clause like that in it.
Well, even if you're a bunch of commies, I would support you saying no to Tom Dundon on that deal, right? You've got to make sure it's got to be ironclad, 20 years with no buyout. You can't give him a buyout when you're giving him, $600 million for crying out loud. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, especially in a city that at least says it doesn't have that kind of money. And we all know they do have that kind of money. It's a matter of where they're putting it.
Yes.
That's the real problem here.
And I don't think any of us really want to know the true answer to that, where that money goes sometimes. Politicians are really crafty when it comes to spreading funds around to the things that they care about. But I would guess, I keep going back to this, Godfather, what options does the council have? Because if they can't they have to get a good deal done to keep the Blazers here or they're dead, right? You don't want to be on the watch and let the team walk out of town.
Yeah, I don't know. The people supporting them probably would support not giving the Blazers any money. That would be my guess. And it's probably a bigger number than we think, because we always overestimate the number of sports fans in a town, when in reality, every town it's about half and half.
Yeah. What's funny about that?
People,
I've never lived my life not as a sports fan. When I come across someone that doesn't follow sports, I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, I know. But there's a lot more of them than we think, because we're surrounded by the people with the same likes and dislikes that we have. And so we don't believe in it. They used to do polls. When I was at the Oregonian, they do a poll all the time. And I remember hearing one time 50% of the respondents said they don't even look at the sports section. What? And I thought, what? That makes no sense at all. All my friends look at the sports section. Well, I just didn't know the right people, I guess, or I knew the wrong people. But I think it's probably stayed around 50%. And now in Portland, it might even be lower because the Blazers aren't as popular as they probably once were.
That's a good point.
Of the tanking.
Do you think there are non-sports fans that still understand the value and the importance of having a pro team in town and what that does for the business side?
Yeah, I do, Chad. And I also think that even though they might not be basketball fans, they're using that arena for something. They're going to see, the random Paul McCartney concert or whoever your favorite musical group is. You're going there for that. You're using that building. And they're also saying to themselves, well, we own the building and we're going to have to pay for renovation at some point. Paying for it now is probably going to be a lot cheaper than paying for it 5 years from now because construction costs are always going up. And it's like, let's go ahead and get this done because everybody who uses that as a tenant, everybody coming in for a concert, they all want these renovations too. They don't want to be in an outdated building.
Yeah.
And so, people mistake the idea that, the Blazers are the only ones that are there. No, they're only there. What did I see? How many? 41, 42 dates a year they're in there, counting possible playoffs and preseason games. So that leaves over 300 nights where somebody else is there.
Hey,
let's think about them too. And
Yeah,
you
no
want
doubt.
the Blazers to pay. You want the Blazers to pay for all of this, and none of those other people are paying.
Hey, what is some of the reporting on Dundon that you think is over the top or unnecessary or inaccurate? Like, what's jumped out at you?
Well, I just thought, a lot of mountains were made out of molehills. The whole issue of the T-shirts and, that was just so lame because the fans in Portland don't put those shirts on. They never have. They just don't work. And to get upset about no free T-shirts, goodness gracious. I never bought into that. And what's funny, I've been talking to people in front offices, and one former GM/president of a team told me recently, they said, I read in the paper that the Blazers were last in sponsorship revenue. He said, I might have missed something, but somehow did New Orleans and Memphis and Sacramento, did they all leave the league or something? Where you got to be better than them. And if you're not, some people probably ought to get fired, and that was his take on it. That's not me saying it. And basically, when you think about those, New Orleans, Memphis, goodness sakes, even Utah, there's no way in my mind that we should be worse in that kind of revenue than those cities.
Well, I agree with that. So don't you think that could be more of an organizational deal? And I think Tom Dundon mentioned this to Bill Oram, where it's like, hey, that's on us to do a better job of selling and creating partnerships where we can help these businesses out. So maybe that's more on the team and their lack of effort in that department, possibly.
Well, that's what I meant. And that's what I think. Where people talk about him laying people off, well, somebody wasn't doing a good job. It doesn't make any sense. So, I wasn't too alarmed with that because I've seen, when Paul Allen declared bankruptcy on the arena, I think he laid off more than 100. And it's just, that's life. I've been laid off, so, I know how it is. So that's the world. That's the way the world is right now.
So it wasn't alarming to you with the layoff, 70 people or whatever the exact number was?
No, the only thing alarming about it, I expected him to take a little longer in that and maybe invest a little more time in finding out who the bad ones are, who the good ones are, who deserves it, who doesn't deserve it. I think he's taken someone else's word on that, and I think there's probably somebody has called it an assassination group in there that is deciding who leaves and who goes.
That's possible. All right, The Godfather, Dwight James. You can read him at Substack. I'll see you on Saturday, my friend. I'm looking forward to coming out and getting another practice round in with Nancy.
Yeah, I think one more practice round, you guys can be ready to just dominate.
I hope so. And one more pretzel, and I'll add 10 more pounds to my body. That'll be nice.
We're looking forward to that. I'll have it ready for you, all warmed up and ready to go.
All right, Godfather. Wait for the text from Bruce, because if the Spurs don't get it done tomorrow night, or Wemby's got 3 shot attempts with 3 minutes to go in the first half, he's going to be really angry.
Yeah, and he's certainly not going to just refrain from betting on the game. I'm
sure
there's still some reason for him to make that bet.
That's great. All right, buddy. I appreciate you, man. I'll see you soon.
All right, Chad. Thanks.
All right, we'll come back. You got the Rip City Drive. Big thanks to The Godfather. Check him out at Substack here on the Rip City Drive. I was having this discussion with my daughter a couple of days ago. Like, what are some of the best smells? And we both acknowledge that movie theater popcorn, when you walk in the theater, that aroma is pretty good. But I think another one that's underrated that's up there, new carpet smell. Like, we've got new carpet laid here in the building because they've been going through all the construction. The studio has never smelled better. This is amazing. Brand new carpet. It's everywhere. It just smells good. It smells new and fresh. They got the walls painted, carpets down. The new car smells pretty good as well. A lot of good smells. My mom said Cinnabon. The old smell you used to have when you're walking through the mall was pretty good. I would agree with that. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Tomorrow night, 5:30 tip down in San Antonio, Spurs and Thunder. Game 6, will there be a Game 7? Right now, the Spurs are favored by 3.5. So we'll see if the Spurs can do a better job of getting Wemby in a position to have success. Coming up here in about 10 minutes, Hurricanes and Canadians from Montreal. Game 4, and Tom Dundon's hockey squad has a 2-1 series lead. And Las Vegas is waiting for the winner of that series before we get on to the Stanley Cup Finals. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Brad Bachkin going to stop by at 5:20. You can jump on board at 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive. Now, 5 o'clock, coming up in a couple of minutes on True TV. Hurricanes, and now 5 o'clock, coming up in a couple of minutes on True TV. Hurricanes and Canadians, Game 4 of the Eastern Final. And right now, Carolina, Tom Dundon's squad has a 2-1 series lead. The Oklahoma City Thunder took a 3-2 series lead in the Western Conference Final last night after they defeated the Spurs. Game 6 will be tomorrow, 5:30 tip from San Antonio. The Spurs favored by 3.5 as they look to force a Game 7 on Saturday. NBA Finals won't begin until June 3rd, so the Knicks, with an exceptional amount of time off. Brad Botkin talking NBA coming up on the show at 5:20. Checking the Major League scoreboard. The Mariners able to rout the A's today in Sacramento by a final of 9-1. Gilbert gets the win. Games that are in action right now, bottom of the 6th in Baltimore. Orioles 6, Rays nothing. Tigers a 2-0 lead on the Angels, bottom of 5 in Detroit. And middle of the 5 in Pittsburgh, Cubs and Pirates tied up at 4. All right, came across this graphic. Top 25 athletes of all time according to ChatGPT. And Michael Jordan is number 1, followed by Muhammad Ali. Wayne Gretzky, 3rd. Tom Brady is number 4. Serena Williams at 5. Messi is 6. Pele at 7. LeBron at 8. Usain Bolt, 9. Babe Ruth, 10th. Followed by Tiger Woods, Michael Phelps, Roger Federer, and Kareem. And the list goes on. 503-248-0620. Just a matter of time until LeBron gets the clutch crew to get a hold of ChatGPT to change their arrangement there. The Godfather and I were just talking about non-sports fans. And I've lived my whole life following sports. It's just what I've always done. Big sports fan. I kind of live by a sports calendar. I know a lot of you who are sports fans do the same thing. But as I've gotten older, I realize there are people that just couldn't care less about sports. I always find that very interesting that they just have other things they care about. And that's fine. But what's really funny is when you get people trying to comment on sports and they have no idea what they're talking about. Politicians being a prime example. Like, if you don't know, you can't make these type of mistakes. So the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, she was asked about Donald Trump being a lifelong Knicks fan, and I think he announced that he's going to try and attend a finals game at Madison Square Garden when the Knicks face off against the Thunder or the Spurs. And so Governor Hochul was asked about Trump being a lifelong Knicks fan. Take a listen to this exchange.
What do you think of him saying he's a lifelong Knicks fan? I think that's how the Times reported it.
I asked 3. So, all fine, except for the fact that the Knicks did not win the championship in 93. All fine, except for the fact that the Knicks did not win the championship in 93. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to Chicago, and the Bulls went on to finish off their first three-peat with MJ. So again, politicians stepping into the sports realm sometimes is scary. This is why we are concerned about the Portland City Council trying to get a deal done with the Trailblazers. Because my guess is you have a lot of non-sports fans who are trying to get the deal done. They don't understand pro team in terms of generating dollars for the city. The fact that having a pro team might increase of generating dollars for the city. The fact that having a pro team might increase your ability to bring in another professional sports team like Major League Baseball. But come on, how can you make that mistake? Like, she's got a staff. You might want to inform the Gov that the Knicks did not win the title in 93. I think their last championship was 72-73, and they had 7 Hall of Famers on that team. That's why I think it's insane when young people who did not see that team play or have any sense of history try to tell me that this is the best Knicks team of all time. This Knicks team is great, and I love this group of guys, but they're not even better than the 93 team with Patrick Ewing. Get a hold of yourself. Shake yourself. And we're seeing a lot of that now, too, with people taking shots at MJ, the Utah Jazz, and the Chicago Bulls from 98. There was a clip that was floating around on social media, but it was a cinematic clip that was shown in slower motion, right? So people had this idea that the game was somehow slow back then, that the athletes are better today. It's pretty much nonsense. But there you go. The Knicks did not win the title in 93. Their last championship was in 72-73. They had 7 Hall of Famers, and the Knicks bowed out to the Chicago Bulls in the playoffs in 93. And then MJ and company went on to beat the Phoenix Suns and MVP Charles Barkley that year in the finals. But that series between Chicago and New York in 93 was awesome. Knicks had home court advantage. They won the first 2 games at home. Chicago evened up the series at 2 games apiece. And that Game 5 at Madison Square Garden was a classic. MJ was a beast down the stretch. And the Knicks had numerous shots at point-blank range right before the buzzer sounded. Couldn't get the shot to go down, and the Bulls get the win and go on to win the series in 6.
What do you think of him saying he's a lifelong Knicks fan? I think that's how the Times reported it.
I asked him to name the starting lineup from 1993 championship team and see how he does.
She's got a staff. Like, someone's got to give her the information. I don't understand how those type of mistakes happen. And especially with a lot of these companies or big-name people, they've got smart people around them. It's like, come on, man, help these people out. If you're going to speak on something that you obviously are not familiar with, but if you're the governor of any state, you can't go on saying stuff like that. Just like I don't want our governor talking about the Trailblazers unless she's been clued in. And sports fans are a weird bunch, right? We know our teams. We know the years they won the championship. We know everything about them. And we don't want people commenting on the teams unless they know what they're talking about. So we'll get the Spurs and Thunder tomorrow. I think the Thunder are going to win the series. I'm not sure if the Spurs are going to force a Game 7 or not. They're going to have to play a lot better. Namely, Wemby's going to have to play a lot better. And that's going to come down to making sure that Wemby gets touches and is able to dominate in the paint. And their head coach, Mitch Johnson, was asked about on what needs to be done differently to get him in a position to have success.
Mitch, how did you think Victor played? And can you do more to get him going?
We're going to need to. He's got to take more than 15 shots, even with the free throws. And, yeah, he's going to have to score more than 20 points for sure. And
I'm sorry, is that his aggression or game plan or combination of both?
Yeah, combination of both for sure. OKC did a good job. We got to do a better job. And that's, yeah, probably the easiest in terms of when you just surface level stuff that he'll definitely need to even when we had advantages and we just didn't make simple plays that take advantage of the opportunity. Had advantages and we just didn't make simple plays that take advantage of the opportunity in that possession. And in this type of game, you got to be sure of everything you're doing in a very secure, mature way.
Mitch also talked about the mistakes, and there were many mistakes. Too aggressive on defense, fouling. They were in the penalty. The Thunder were able to take 38 free throws, which is a problem. They were much better in Game 4 being disciplined in their defense, not getting Wemby the ball in a position to have dominance, not collapsing the defense or throwing lobs up to Wemby, and ill-advised shots early in the shot clock from some of their guards. They've got to make better decisions and execute better if they're going to have a chance to force a Game 7, and Coach was asked about that.
Coach, OKC and Shea were able to generate many free throws compared to Game 4. What was the reason for you? Do you think it was the poor decisions you were talking about in terms of like discipline and defense?
Yeah, in the second quarter there for sure we had some times where, fouls or not, we need to be more aware of when we're in the bonus. And so they got some free throws where they weren't in an advantage at that moment, or we weren't in a bad spot or out of position. And so you just got to understand, especially if you're on the perimeter and there's a lot of space around, the overly physical stuff. If you give the ref the opportunity to call it, and now someone gets free throws and didn't really have to work to get to that or get us in a spot where we were at a disadvantage, that's where numbers can get big for giving up points in a quarter.
All right, there's Mitch Johnson, head coach of the Spurs. So big game 6 tomorrow, and if the Spurs are able to get the win, we'll advance to a game 7. And then either way, if it goes to 7 games, the winner will have 3 days off before the finals kick off. But the Knicks, I think, are going to have a major advantage because they're going to be rested. And guys like OG Anunoby, who have been banged up throughout the course of the postseason, are going to have a chance to heal up, which is nice. Now, we're talking about some of the great smells, like popcorn aroma at a theater, new car smell, new carpet, as I'm experiencing here in the studio, Scotty Bethune, fresh cut cedar, mowed grass, and my flatulence after apple juice. Scotty, that's pretty funny. I would agree with that. I love being out on the golf course in the morning for many reasons, but there are a few things that are better than the fresh smell of a freshly cut fairway as you're walking up hole number 1. Taking in the sounds of the birds, which make happier sounds in the morning. The sunlight starting to peek out as the sun's coming up. It's the best. The feel of the grass underneath your feet. I can smell it right now. I can't wait to get back out there. Nice work, Scotty. Apple juice. I don't drink. Do you drink apple juice, Scotty? I'm sure I did when I was younger. I'm not a big juice drinker. I like water, but I'm not a big juice guy. If I were going to go with juice, I guess I would go grape juice. I'm not a big juice guy. I like my black coffee and I like water. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can reach out. You can jump on board. Brad Bakken is CBS Sports going to join us next, and we'll do a deep dive on the Knicks. Are they legitimate title contenders now, coming out of the East after beating up on the Sixers and the Cavs? And are we going to see a Game 7 in the Western Conference Final? Brad Bakken's coming up next. And I do appreciate your time. We'll have a bonus segment at 6 with Rich Burke as the Hops get ready for their game tonight. Right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals coming up tomorrow night. Tip-off at 5:30. Right now, the Spurs are a 3.5-point favorite. Knicks, they will get 8 full days off before the finals kickoff on June 3rd. And joining us now to talk a little hoop is Brad Bakken of CBS Sports. And, Brad, I was thinking about you when I heard these comments. I want to get your take on it. Kenny Atkinson, after Game 3 with his team down 3-0 against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Analytically, I think we've won the I said 3 out of 3. We're 2 out of 3 in the expected. I don't know if you guys follow that. There's an expected score, and we won 2 out of 3. And I know you're looking confused, but I'm not. There is really, if you believe in process and all that, so take that layer. I know I don't throw that on them. I see it for myself. We have this feeling. I have this feeling. Then I can go to our analytical table and be like, man, we are. I think last night it was the expected score was like 1 point or 2. Us shooting way below expected, them shooting way over. I know no one wants to hear that. I think you guys like hearing it. I know, general public, no one wants to hear that. Everyone's outcome based. And, sure, I get that too.
I mean, Brad, it was a pretty bad week for Kenny Atkinson and the Cavs. What was your reaction to those comments?
Yeah, I mean, it's the optics of it are terrible. It's not the thing to say. If you take a step back and just sort of think about what he's saying, every team in the NBA does what Kenny Atkinson is talking about.
That's true.
They take certain shots from certain spots and they map out the math for their opponent and for themselves every single game. And they think that is going to end up with an expected outcome over time. It's like Moneyball, over time. But obviously, you can go so far with numbers in the way that we approach the game today that you sort of forget of these human elements. Like, you can't account for the adrenaline of an Alex Caruso shooting out of his mind because he's amped for the playoffs and he's a big moment guy. And these are human things that you can't measure with numbers. And so over time, the numbers tend to play out. The Celtics do this. The Warriors do this. Every single NBA team looks at certain shots from certain spots. And the Cavs, I'm sure they ran their numbers and said, based on the shots we got and based on the shots the Knicks got, we should have won the game. And over time, that's probably true. But the optics of it in the aftermath of a defeat, in the aftermath of a Game 1 meltdown with a 22-point lead and 7 minutes to play, it's just not something you're supposed to say.
I agree. I want to ask about the Knicks because here's my dilemma with them. I just assumed when the playoffs kicked off that whoever came out of the West, most likely San Antonio or Oklahoma City, would win the championship. The Knicks have won 11 straight. They've dominated weaker competition in the Eastern Conference. I really like their squad, and they're very well connected. Are they a legitimate title contender, a threat to either Oklahoma City or San Antonio? Or
yeah, they are.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to know.
They are. The thing about the weakness of the Eastern Conference, relatively speaking, and I know everybody, this stat has been going around all over social media recently where, I think the regular season record, the East actually beat the West.
Yes.
Whatever. We all know that the West is a tougher road. You look at a team like the Timberwolves having to go through Denver and San Antonio in the first 2 rounds. It's obviously different than the Hawks and the 76ers. Okay.
Okay.
Fine. We know that. But it's not that the East isn't going to produce a championship contender every year. There's 1 or 2 teams. It's that the road there is easier. Okay, and that beats you up. The Spurs and the Thunder are getting beat to hell right now.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to come out of that series and then go play the Knicks. So, when Boston came out in 24, hell, Indiana last year, Cleveland for years with LeBron, there's always 1 or 2 teams that they are at the level of the West. But the depth of the conference as a whole is not. And so your path there is easier. And there's no question that the Knicks are going to benefit from all this rest, from about as smooth a path, which they have earned, but it is about as smooth a path as you can have to the finals. They're healthy. The Spurs are banged up. The Thunder are banged up. No A.J. Mitchell, no Jalen Williams. Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox aren't 100%. So they're sitting pretty good right now. I mean, they could not be in a better position to win a championship without, I mean, absent the fact that they're going to have to go through a terrific team no matter who they get. But, yeah, they're good enough. They're one of the one or two teams. Like Detroit can't beat any of these teams. They don't have the – like there's all these Eastern Conference teams have things that you can say they just can't match up. But not the Knicks. You know, they can play big. They can play small. They can run. The Knicks, to me, this year – it's interesting because the Tom Thibodeau team is supposed to be tough and gritty and that's what I feel about this team this year. It's like the first year, I'm sure he instilled a lot of that, and it takes a while for the flower to bloom, but they feel like a team to me, same personnel roughly, but they feel like a team to me that's tough, that's ready for the moment, that's not going to, beat themselves in big moments, that all these narratives of all the years, like, oh, can Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns survive defensively? Like, I don't see that at all when I watch them play anymore. Like, I see, substance to the team in a way that I'm not sure I did under Thibodeau, which is strange because that's a Thibodeau calling card, is that my teams are going to be tough. So Mike Brown did a good job this year. He didn't play the starters as much. They're fresh. The ball's moving more. You can track the passes and the touch time. It's not so reliant on Jalen Brunson. Everybody's in rhythm, and that has benefited. Mikal Bridges is having an unbelievable postseason. OG Anunoby. They've made Towns a distributor. I mean, they've pushed all the right buttons. They have all the right personnel. They've had the smoothest path possible. They're healthy. What more could you ask for a shot at a title?
I agree. And with Jalen Brunson, I really enjoy watching him play, Brad, because I love how he can get to his spots and he understands angles and he's able to get his shot up over larger defenders. What are your thoughts on Brunson today compared to when the Knicks signed him? What were you thinking about writing about when they signed him compared to how you see him now?
I think everybody questioned if he could be the number one. Everybody's going to question if a small point guard and somewhat defensively challenged point guard can be the face of a championship contender until they actually do it. I mean, Becky Hammon's out there still saying it, and I think it's a fair question. We've never seen really anybody do it since Isaiah Thomas, because you kind of have to rule Stephen Curry out. He's like in his own category. All these small point guards, they can't be the best player on the championship team. Brunson's trying to prove that otherwise. And, all the things that he does that you talk about, his ability to use his body, his leverage, his angles, his footwork. I love the interview he did recently where he talked about playing off 2 feet and how he learned that at Villanova. What you say about him getting to his spots is something that I think Victor Wembanyama is missing right now. Victor Wembanyama doesn't have a Kevin Durant at the elbow, a Luka Doncic step back, a Damian Lillard pull up off the pick and roll. There's no spot he can get to when he needs it. He kind of has to take what the defense gives him. And Jalen Brunson, no matter who's guarding him, can get to the spot he needs to get to and then create space from there. And so, yeah, he's phenomenal. And again, I go back to the substance. I mean, the substance of the guy, it's like, I don't know, it's sort of like he's a better player than Trae Young. But let's just say even if Trae Young and him were sort of equal skill-wise, the difference is the substance, right? The part that's sort of undefinable, that you just know, I'm comfortable with that guy in the conference final. That guy's not flimsy in any way. And the whole Knicks team feels like that to me.
Yeah, that's the way I look at them. They're well connected, but they're strong. Love the way they're playing right now. You mentioned Wemby. I think I noticed last night, about 5.5 minutes to go in the first half, Wemby had 3 shot attempts. In the 2 games they've won, game 1 and game 4, he was dominant in the paint. Last night, the Thunder had him in that spot in the mid-range. So what's it going to take tomorrow night for the Spurs to get back to making sure that Wemby's in a place to be dominant around the rim, but also get more shot attempts in 3 with 5.5 minutes to go in the first half?
Yeah, you're right about that. He's, at this point in his career, we're seeing the one kind of literal and figurative weakness of his game. He doesn't have a spot that is kind of his office. The Carmelo Anthony facing up. He can't get to that spot consistently because he's not strong enough. The adjustment that Dagnall made, putting Hartenstein in the game, 250 pounds, he's pushing him out of the paint. He's not letting him set up early. But then the other part of that is Wemby is not necessarily committed to this is my spot. I'm getting to the paint. You're going to stop me as either a hard roller, as a catch at the, I mean, in my opinion, everything Wemby does needs to be one dribble, one step, or one turn from the rim. He's so long, that basically means about the elbow down. He's getting straight to the rim with one step from the elbow. He's getting there with one dribble. He's getting there with one spin. And that's where he needs to be operating, because at that point on the court, it's very simple. He's the tallest guy. Now, he can't hold his line on straight line drives. You saw last night he actually has to sometimes concede to just firing the ball off the backboard and try to get his own rebound because he can't get through the wall that's in front of him. And so that's something that he's still in the infancy of his development. So we'll see with his body type if he's actually going to develop the strength to hold that straight line drive in the way that, say, Giannis did when he came in skinny as a bean and then built out to be able to power through straight line drives. Or if he sort of thinks that he's going to go the route of Kevin Durant. Either way, when Kevin Durant wants the ball at the elbow, he gets the ball at the elbow. And Wemby, from a mindset standpoint, has got to say, I'm dominating the paint. Just go look at the shot charts in games 1 and 4, the games that the Spurs won. It's all paint. It's all paint. Now, of course he can do all these things, but sometimes your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. And this idea that sort of he can do everything and we get enamored with it because of his size, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it. It's not efficient offense for Wemby, especially against Oklahoma City and all of their arms reaching in and all their physicality, to be putting the ball on the floor 4 or 5 times and trying to create space with his dribble. It's not going to happen consistently. He's going to get bumped off his spots, bumped off his path. He needs to be where he's within one dribble, and it can just be a matter of height, plain and simple. I'm taller than you. And if he can't establish that early position and the Oklahoma City Thunder make him a perimeter player, it's very difficult for the Spurs to win. When he can, there's nobody that can guard him. And right now, to me, it feels like a 50-50 proposition. You're either going to get the Wemby that falls in love with the three, or even worse, like last night, sort of just fades out of possessions and turns into damn near just like a floor spacer. To your point, doesn't even have any attempts. Or you get the Wemby that says, I'm going to seal off every mismatch I have, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to dunk on Chet Holmgren. Like, there's two different versions, and one of them the Spurs are the better team, and one of them the Spurs can't win.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. Like, they can't win the series if Wemby is a non-factor like we saw last night. Now, you nailed it, man. These Spurs guards, these young guys, they've been terrific. Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, I love their toughness and the way that they're able to bully some of the smaller guards for the Thunder. But last night I thought we saw, some of the shot attempts early in the shot clock. They were much more patient in defending Shea in Game 4 than they were last night. So what do you want to see from those guys in Game 6 tomorrow for the Spurs to force a 7?
But they got to not turn the ball over. Like, we can sort of like split hairs with of course it'd be great if they made shots and they've got to defend well and all that stuff. That's kind of like has to be baked into the recipe of every game. But the first and foremost, they can't turn the ball over. Like if the Spurs go in the locker room tomorrow night and it's like the old, high school board and they govern the whiteboard and the coach walks in and he puts up 2 bullet points. It's like Wemby dominate the paint, guys don't turn the ball over. That's it. Like all the other stuff, it'll go how it goes, but they can't survive. Stephon Castle's turning in some of these games is turning Westbrookian. He cannot hold on to the ball through this traffic. And you just cannot because the thing that it does, not only is it robbing you of possessions, but it allows Oklahoma City to get out into the free-flowing open court. And that's where Alex Caruso and all these guys that when the Spurs adjusted and they said we're not going to double team SGA anymore. In Game 4, it took Caruso out. He has 0 points. Okay, I went into Game 5 thinking if they do that again, Caruso and Cason Wallace and Jalen Williams, these are guys that are not going to create their own offense against a set defense. But that's the key. It has to be a set defense. And when you're turning the ball over, it's not a set defense. It's a scrambling defense, scrambling back in transition. And then Alex Caruso's attacking the gray areas. He's attacking the gaps, and he had a fantastic game. So to me, I think you can't turn the ball over. You go back to not double-teaming Shea and say, we're going to make Shea get 45 tonight. Because Shea didn't play that well last night. He had 32 points, but Again, inefficient. So again, they lost that game because Wemby didn't do what he is capable of doing, and then they lost the bench. Like, that's been the story of the series. Like, either the thing that got the Thunder through their 2 wins through the first 4 games was they just murdered the bench. Caruso shooting out of his mind. The first 3 games, that was a result of double teaming Shea and these guys getting practice shots. Last night, give credit where it's due. They weren't trapping Shea super high on the court and just spoon feeding wide open threes to these guys. And Caruso and Jared McCain still had big games for them. So give credit where it's due. But I would still play that card again. I think if you're not turning the ball over and you're forcing Caruso and McCain and these guys to actually beat you in a half court set, and you're stuck to them like you're close enough to be able to close out to them, I take my chances, especially with Shea being inefficient really this whole series and largely for the playoffs as a whole. To me, those are the 2 things. Wemby has got to play inside, and they have got to not turn the ball over.
You know what I love, Brad? I love role players in the playoffs stepping up to have big moments. Landry Shamet was on fire in the Eastern Conference Finals. Caruso is so much fun to watch. His competitive desire, the way he competes on both ends. We saw him talking junk to LeBron when they were taking care of business against the Lakers, and he's been pretty much on fire from downtown in this series. I mean, he can fill so many different roles. I just love his game.
Oh, man, the biggest mistake the Lakers ever made was letting him go.
For nothing.
Lakers fans they're still mad about that. Alex Caruso is a dream.
Yeah.
He's a legit dream, like player, like there's not a player. It's like he's a step up from the Amen Thompsons and the Oscar Thompsons. Like, I kind of I'm surprised. Listen, when he's shooting 61% from 3 through the first 3 games, I'm surprised, of course. But I'm not surprised at Alex Caruso making threes in the playoffs. Again, this is speaking to the Kenny Atkinson analytics thing. You kind of can't measure gamers. And anybody who's played sports at any level knows what a gamer is. And Alex Caruso is a gamer. If you look back at his three-point percentage over the last 2 playoffs, he's made more three-pointers than he's made in any of the last 2 regular seasons. Think about that. That is a rise to the occasion guy. And it's a big sample size. Over 2 full postseasons, 6 series or 5 series now. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 series. 7. 4 last year. Yeah, 7. That's a big sample size. So the guy's at 43%. I mean, this guy's a gamer. And what I said about his ability to attack gray areas, we get so analytical with things that we say, okay, either you double team Shea and he kicks it for a kick out shot from this spot. Here's your expected shooting percentage. Or we don't double team Shea and we stick to the shooters and Shea shoots this percent from the, and you sort of forget that basketball is this flowing ambient sport that you don't know where the cuts are going to come from. You don't know where the space is going to open up. It's all reactionary. It's instinct. And nobody's better than Alex Caruso at smelling what's coming in a transition possession, which way the defense is flowing and cutting the other way, when he's going to dribble handoff and the defense is overselling, anticipating, and he fakes it and cuts straight down the lane. Mikal Bridges is doing the same thing for the Knicks with these things. These instinctual plays, these feel for possessions and the way that the ball is and the movement of the players is happening is something you can't teach. People generalize it every time around the draft. You'll hear about guys saying feel for the game, and it's a very hard thing to quantify, but you know it when you see it, and Alex Caruso's got it. So, yeah, I'm surprised he was banging 61% of his threes through 3 games, but I'm not surprised that Alex Caruso's playing incredibly well and finding his spots to make impacts, even in areas that we don't usually expect him to do it. He's not going to be the number 2 guy where you can pass it to him and he's just going to ISO, but that's not the way basketball always plays out. And so, that's kind of a full circle moment for the original question to Atkinson. We all get the numbers. We all get the expected outcomes of the way that basketball is analyzed today. But there are things you can't measure, and you're seeing it in mid-range jumpers. These mid-range jumpers are invaluable in the playoffs. So, sometimes it comes down to, guys making plays. And in fact, oftentimes it does. And Alex Caruso makes plays.
Yeah. Who would be another example? I'm trying to think of other gamers that we've grown up with, like Robert Horry. Like, who else comes to mind of someone that just raises their level of play?
So, of course, he's a Robert Horry, the all-time gamer. But I'm a Warriors fan, so like Andre Iguodala is just like a gamer. Even Draymond Green. Like, I look at these guys that they don't have to be like no names where they come. It's like people that do things above their expected level. Like, I'm never surprised when Draymond Green. He's a big name, and so maybe he doesn't feel like a guy that's coming out of nowhere to do it, but I'm never surprised when Draymond Green knocks down 3 threes or starts going coast to coast in big game, because he's a gamer.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson is a gamer. Sometimes these are stars, and so like James Harden, not a gamer.
That's true.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the no-name guys. There's just guys that are like you don't want to see them. Jalen Brunson, like total gamer. I'm not sure Karl Anthony Towns is playing very well in these playoffs, but like there's just these guys that you can sort of define it however you want. It's like toughness. People put different labels on it. I call them gamers.
Yeah.
But I mean these guys are Damian Lillard, gamer.
Yeah.
Like that run when he was on back when he left Portland, and it was like he was like in the clutch. He was just like insane. Like total gamer.
Yeah.
And Alex Caruso is the guys kind of go. It's like a family tragedy type thing. Like, this is a weird analogy, but like family tragedy either like tears a family apart or brings it closer together. And big moments, kind of like guys don't necessarily stay the same to me. Guys get worse or they really rise. And to me, Jalen Brunson, Alex Caruso, like those guys. Whether you're a role player or a star, certain guys rise and certain guys don't. And Alex Caruso, total game. Like Victor Wembanyama, kind of to me is sort of having to answer. I mean, he competitive wise, obviously, like he does the whole Kobe thing and he grits his teeth and like, oh my God, I hate losing. But like, I don't know. There's one way for you to win tomorrow, and it's for you to, and if you're just not physically strong enough, like I get it, you're 22 years old, you're skinny, you got to develop, but like, it ain't shooting threes. So let's find out, like how, there's one way to win this game tomorrow. Like, be a Dylan Harper, gamer. I mean, we could go down the list forever, but that's kind of how I see it.
All right, final question. How do you see the game playing out tomorrow night?
I don't know. Like at the end of the day, like Wemby going into Game 5, they were plus 50 with him on the court, minus 46 with him off. Like even when he's really not playing up to his potential, he's a huge boom for their team. So I picked him to win the series. So I still go back to his impact. But if he plays like he did in Game 5, which was sort of like the most hollow 20 points or however many points he had, ever, then they have no chance. Like, if you think about it, the Spurs they're deeper. I think they're better defensively, certainly on the perimeter. They're more experienced. They've got a more like reliable scorer in Shea. He's one of those guys that can sort of get to his spot. Wemby can't. Right, kind of all down the line, they have the better team. It's close. I mean, the Spurs are very good. But if you put up the ledger and start checking things off, the Thunder have the advantage in almost every area except Wemby. Wemby you can't account for him when he plays like he did in Game 1 or Game 4. So if he plays like that again, and I like to think that he has the mentality at home to play that way. And I think if he does, the Spurs win. So I'll say San Antonio wins. We go 7, and what a game that would be.
Oh, that's what I want. I want a Game 7 because I want to see these guys in that type of moment. I thought the most troubling number to me last night, Brad, I think the Spurs, with Wemby on the floor and Shea off, they were -8. Like, that can't happen.
No, it can't. And well, it can. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's 22 years old. Like, he's playing against great players. Again, analytics and these numbers that they don't always hold true in small sample. Like, we have to play the game. Of course, it can happen. It's just, if you want to win, it can.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, like, these guys are NBA players on both sides, very, very good ones. And so it's sort of like Jokic with Denver, and you get to the point where you just assume they're going to be like plus 20 when he's on the court, and you forget that, like, well, that might not happen every game. So, yeah, you're right. And I go back to, it's really the only advantage they have, so they better be about plus 13 tomorrow in the Wemby minutes minimum, because the Thunder bench have it. But who knows? I mean, I always think it's sort of low-hanging fruit when you start dropping these adages like role players play better at home. I mean, but hell, maybe they do. Maybe they do. Like, maybe Alex Caruso and Cason Wallace and Jared McCain go cold in Game 6, and the role players on, Vassell gets hot, and Harrison Barnes gets hot, and Keldon Johnson gets hot. Maybe these old adages hold out. Like, it's one game. I just go to the things that I can measure consistently over time, and to me, the bottom line is you kind of can't account for, some Mario Ellie type player getting hot, and if that happens,
that's
Keldon
another
Johnson
one.
gets hot.
He's a gamer. Mario Ellie was an absolute gamer. Gosh, he was good.
Gamer. Yeah. So I mean, like, if Keldon Johnson gets hot, great. But the things that you can sort of go in, the high school coach putting it up on the whiteboard. Wemby, get your ass in the paint. Harper, Fox, Castle, don't turn it over. Everything else, you take your chances. You hope the role players play good. You hope Caruso misses shots. You hope the officials don't give Shea his flops. Those are all things that to varying degrees are out of your control. Wemby, get in the paint, and to some of that might have to be some schematic things from Mitch Johnson, because, again, he's not strong enough to just say, to hell with you guys, I'm getting in the paint. He's not strong enough yet to do that. So there's got to be some schematic things with some short rolls, getting him in space with empty corners, and things to get him in mismatches, hunting different switches to get him to be able to seal on smaller guys. Like, they've got to do some schematic things, but then it also has to be Wemby's mentality. I'm getting in the paint tonight. And then the other guys take care of the ball. We do those two things, and then, hey, we're at home. Let's hope the guy, we can win. Those two things. The other shit, the other stuff, let it play out. You got me going.
Yeah, that's okay, man. That was pretty good. I want what you want, Brad. I want a Game 7. That would be awesome. We need it. We need a Game 7, baby.
And especially with these two teams, I mean, they're so good and they're playing so hard. It's, there's been a lot of talk about the refs in this series and what they're falling for. And I mean, I can't stand it when these guys fall and they get the call. But the physicality is so incredible that, like, it's sort of like offensive linemen at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you can call holding on every play. Like, I just don't even know really how you decide when to call a foul and when not to. I hope they continue to err on letting them be physical because, this is a war. Wemby hates these guys. Who knows if he told Plumlee and those guys, you saw the clip going around today, he whispered in their ear, and then they come out and they throw 3 hard fouls on McCain. I mean, these teams don't like each other. Chet Holmgren is not showing up for OKC. Wemby and him take that matchup personally. This is going to be this is like Pistons Bulls, and we're going to have this for the next 8 years. And so I think this is awesome. Yeah, if it went Game 7, I would be about as excited for that game as I've been since probably Warriors-Cavs Game 7. I can't think of another game I would look forward to more than if these two went 7.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Brad Botkin, CBS Sports. Dude, thanks for the deep dive, my friend. Enjoy the game tomorrow, and let's hope there's a Game 7.
Okay, thanks, man.
You got it. Man, I love Brad so much. That was awesome. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Dump button, I don't know why I didn't push it. I should have. I'm an idiot. No, Brad was excited. I was excited. We need a Game 7. Don't screw this up. Wemby, this is your opportunity and your moment to seize control of the game tomorrow night and make sure that your team gets in a Game 7. All right, let's check in on Tom Dundon's hockey squad. 503-248-0620. Right now, scoreless with 5:21 to go in the first. Hurricanes and Canadians. Rich Burke is going to join me coming up at 6. I'll have a conversation with him as we get ready for Hops baseball. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, big thanks to Brad Bach and CBS Sports. We're going to come back, and Rich Burke going to join us live from Hillsborough Hops Ballpark as we get ready for Hops baseball tonight. They're going to take on the Everett Aqua Sox. First pitch at 6:35. All right, the Hillsboro Hops are getting ready to take on the Everett Aqua Sox. First pitch coming up at 6:35 from Hillsboro Hops Ballpark. And joining me right now is the voice of your Hillsboro Hops, Rich Burke. Rich, good afternoon, my friend.
Hey, how are you, Chad? I also got Seth Hoyland here.
Hey, what's up, Seth, my man?
Hey, what's going on? I snuck in.
Hey, it's great to talk to you guys. Rich, I wanted to ask you about this because I haven't talked to you about him, but Shohei Ohtani, who is obviously a remarkable baseball player, what are your thoughts on his job on the mound this year? He's going to go tonight against the Rockies, but 49 innings pitched, and he's only given up 4 earned runs, and he's still batting .270.
Yeah, and he hasn't even hit as well as he would expect. He's picked it up a little bit lately, but had some struggles there for a while where he looked human. I just think it's so easy to become desensitized to what we're seeing right now. We're seeing something that is ridiculous. It just doesn't happen. Can you imagine a pitcher that is as successful as he is, and he also hits leadoff in the same game in which he's pitching? Imagine that, and it's actually happening in front of our eyes. I went to a game in Anaheim when he was still pitching for the Angels 4 or 5 years ago, and witnessed something that I don't think has ever happened in the history of baseball, and it's that the starting pitcher got plate appearances in each of the first 3 innings. Think about that. He was leading off, and they hit pretty well. He had a plate appearance in the 3rd inning after having won in the first and the second. Has that ever happened in the history of baseball? I don't know. Where a starting pitcher gets plate appearances in the first 3 innings. We know it ain't happening again because other than him, pitchers don't hit.
Yeah, I'm just glad you mentioned that. We get desensitized now because we're so bombarded with different video clips and everything. But I think with Shohei, I want to see him win the Cy Young this year. I just loved that the guy, because I was against him pitching. I wanted to see him focus on hitting. But now I understand why he's doing it. If you can be great at both, why not pursue it? So I like to see a guy with that type of passion and desire to be great at not just hitting but also pitching. It's cool.
It is, and the amount that he has to take care of his body behind the scenes.
Oh, my.
Must be incredible.
Yeah.
The amount of work that he puts into it. Listen, I know you got a lot of LeBron haters out there.
Mm-hmm.
But along the same lines, what we've witnessed over the last 20-plus years is incredible. We're going to look back on it, and if the guy would just shut up about his own legacy and where he stands compared to other people, and I want my expletive respect.
Yes.
I mean, let that go, LeBron. Let history judge you later. But what we've witnessed, we've become desensitized to it. He's been so successful for so long, and it's so ridiculous. Whether or not you think he's the greatest ever or the 10th greatest ever, it's still incredible what he's done. And the amount that he has to take care of his body to be able to do this behind the scenes. Same thing with Brady. Brady was at a golf tournament one time in the off season, and he's behind some trees, and he's doing some wind sprints. And somebody comes out, and he was trying to be private about it, and somebody comes up and asks him, "What are you doing?" He looks at him and he says, "I'm trying to win a Super Bowl."
I love it.
Yeah, it's what these guys have to do to have success. We mere mortals have no idea.
Well, speaking of success, Seth, the Hops able to get off to a good start last night with a win in the first game of the series against Everett.
They did. Yeah, it's nice to see. And the Hops have had some very good starting pitching this year. Many times the bullpen has let them down. And the bullpen had some issues yesterday. They gave up 4 runs in 4 innings, but Hillsboro thankfully had enough to win 5-4. And Seth, we got Demetrio Crisantes back.
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah, one of the Diamondbacks' top prospects, making a rehab stint here with the Hops. He's on his way to Double-A eventually, but missed pretty much all of last season with a shoulder injury, and he came back last night, first game back in a Hops uniform, and hit 2 home runs in the 5-4 win. So he'll be in the lineup again today, batting second in the order. But man, he's a really, really talented youngster. Wish we had him on the team for longer than just the week, but he's a lot of fun to watch.
And now, Seth, would you consider yourself a Mariners fan?
Yes.
I mean, obviously Diamondbacks fan now, but you got one team in each league, but you grew up a Mariners fan. What about you, Chad? Are you a Mariners fan?
I do like the Mariners. You know, what I've done is I grew up a Cardinal fan in Oklahoma because they were the closest team to where I live. So I loved Whitey Herzog, Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee, and Terry Pendleton. Those guys, that group was awesome. But as I've gotten older, I just find different players that I admire and enjoy watching. So I watch a lot of Dodger baseball because I like a lot of their guys, including Freddie Freeman. I like the Mariners, and I like what they were able to do last year. I had a lot of fun watching the playoff race. So I don't have just one team. I have multiple guys and different teams that I follow based on the guys that I like to watch play.
And I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people who, once they get into the business, they lose maybe a passion for a particular team, but then they really enjoy watching specific players. But I bring this up because the Hops are playing the Mariners affiliate, the Everett Aqua Sox. And
yes.
For your listeners that don't know, all 30 major league teams have 4 long season affiliates, and the ladder goes underneath the big leagues. There's AAA, then there's AA, then there's a couple of levels of Class A baseball, High A and Low A. Officially, it's called Class A, and it's ranked like that. Then below that, you have some rookie level teams, but they play shorter seasons. Every team has 4 long season affiliates, and the Mariners' 4 long season affiliates of 120 minor league teams are all in the top 14 in fewest walks allowed per 9 innings pitched. As a matter of fact, the Everett Aqua Sox are number 1 on that list of 120 teams. And so I talked with the pitching coach for Everett, Brian Paul, today about that, and he says, yes, that's a focus of the Mariners organization, is being aggressive with that first pitch, as he said, throwing the first punch. And they want to get at least 65% strikes on 0-0 pitches, in other words, the first pitch of an at-bat, and 1-1 pitches, and that's pretty standard throughout baseball. But they have a lot of success at it, the Seattle organization does, and get this, the Seattle Mariners are leading Major League Baseball in fewest walks per 9 innings pitched with 2.6. So it goes up and down the organization. And I say that because any Mariners fans out there, it bodes well for the team's future.
I love it. We're talking with Rich Burke and Seth Hoyland as the Hops get ready to take on the Everett Aqua Sox tonight. What about this pitching matchup tonight? We got a battle between Caden Grice and Adam Meyer. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, Caden Grice, he posted a good start last week in Eugene, and he's a big guy. He's 6'6", 250 pounds, and Seth, I just think that he, if he gets it together, he's going to be a guy that moves up this system pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. He's coming off Tommy John surgery, a left-handed pitcher who was a really good, speaking of Shohei Ohtani, not going to compare Caden Grice to Shohei Ohtani, but he was the most outstanding two-way player in college baseball the year that he got drafted out of Clemson. He was an outstanding hitter, got drafted as a two-way player, had a couple at-bats in low-level rookie ball after being drafted by the Diamondbacks, actually hit a professional home run, but going to stick to pitching. But he's fantastic with the bat, but he's going to be strictly a starting pitcher moving forward. So Grice will get to start for the Hops, and then he'll be opposed by Adam Meyer, who's actually a former Oregon Duck. So lots of local ties in this league. Meyer actually out of Vancouver, British Columbia, so he's got a couple stops on this circuit that are kind of home for him, getting to pitch back at PK Park when they play Eugene, and then also getting to pitch in Vancouver, British Columbia when they go up to face off against Vancouver. So he'll get the start for Everett today.
Hey, Rich, I wanted to ask you, what have you learned about the new ballpark and how the ball flies in the evening time? What are your thoughts on what you're seeing with the weather and everything?
I like the dimensions here. The wind is sometimes a factor. It's an asymmetrical ballpark. There's a little wall out in left field that kind of angles out. And by the way, when people come to a game, standing along the left field fence and looking in, out by the Breakside bullpen, the beer shack out in left field, that is a great place to watch the game.
Number one spot for sure.
You think so, Seth?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we've had, I think, five 400-foot plus home runs here this year, including Demetrio Crisantes, who, as Seth told you, he had a pair of home runs in yesterday's game, and including one off the scoreboard that went 407 feet. So, I like the dimensions. I do wish that they had made the outfield fence a little bit shorter so even more home runs could be robbed. I believe it's 8 foot tall out there. But I think that's the lowest that Major League Baseball would allow it. The ballpark in Eugene, which Major League Baseball isn't a fan of, and it's a reason why that in the relationship with the Ducks and the fact that this time of year it's tough to schedule games. The reason why the team in Eugene will probably have to leave here in a few years once they get another place to play. Down there, the outfield fence is 6 feet tall, and so you see a lot of home runs, Rob. But here it's 8 feet tall. Chad, I know you were here on opening night. This is such a great place to watch a game. Other teams' players come in and their jaws drop. It's very much a big league facility, but just in a smaller package.
That's great. Now, why is the number set at 8 feet? Is that because they don't want as many home runs robbed, or what is the purpose behind that, Rich?
That's a good question. I don't really know. I suspect it's that they want more athleticism to rob a home run, perhaps.
Interesting. Mark this down as the first baseball question I've asked Rich, and he didn't know the answer. But you know what I respect? You're willing and secure enough to say, I don't know the answer to that, Chad. I like that.
Well, it's not the first. You're just forgetting. You asked me last week about what hitters can learn from TrackMan,
yes.
And I didn't, and still don't have an answer on that one for you.
Huh. Seth, do you have a answer on that? What hitters can learn from TrackMan?
Well, I'm still learning a lot about TrackMan. I know, I have it up on my computer during the games. There's all sorts of different metrics and data that even I don't understand and don't know. Obviously, when a home run is hit, we look at the distance, we look at the, bat speed. Once you get up to the more advanced levels, there's a system called Hawkeye, and it's kind of one step above TrackMan.
Yeah.
Where that really tracks like the speed of the bat, how fast is the player swinging the bat, how fast are they running from home to first base. It just has some more advanced metrics that they can actually, learn and test speed from at the higher levels. AAA, where they're able to use ABS and challenge pitches. It's kind of along the lines of that technology. So I don't think we're incredibly far away from having that here. But mostly for the technology that they have, our pitchers. They were talking the other day on one of the road trips, just the advanced systems that they have to be able to review tape, to review metrics, to review pitches. There's 4 or 5 different systems that they use to review every pitch of every game. And, we have a video coordinator who sets up 8 different independent cameras throughout the ballpark, uploads every pitch of every game, and then it's immediately matched with the TrackMan data. They can go back and watch those at-bats, both hitters and pitchers, to kind of analyze the game and how they've been playing outside of just the numbers that you see in the box score.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Now, I'll add on to that, and I think one thing hitters can learn from TrackMan is the strike zone, and umpires are learning as well. I was talking with a collegiate umpire down at Oregon State a couple of weeks ago, and he said TrackMan was originally a training tool so that they could match up with what they thought was a strike with what technology said was actually a strike. And now it's as much an evaluation tool as a training tool, but that's what it was originally used for umpires. And I think hitters can do that too. They can kind of get a sense after the game. Well, I thought that pitch was outside, wasn't? Oh no, it actually hit the outside corner. Okay, well that way I can learn.
All right, Rich Burke, Seth Hoyland. We got the Hops and Aqua Sox coming up at Hillsboro Hops Ballpark here on your home of the Hops, Rip City Radio 620. Hey guys, I love the crosstalk. Thank you for your time and have a great call tonight.
Thanks you, Chad. Appreciate it.